Oh, okay. Well, now you're a real chatter. You're actually chatting. What was your question? Which event was I the most anxious about? Or it would be the most anxious about? I think the one that we did right after the shooting was probably the spookiest one. Um, I I wasn't gonna do it initially because I just because of everything, and I generally don't want to die. And but when I saw the when like Elon and Trump Jr. and everybody started tweeting at me online, well, now I feel like if I stay home, I'm like giving in to the loser pressure. So that oppositional defiance kind of kicked in, and yeah, you're good. Oh no. Okay. Is it plugged into the stream? Oh, okay. Well, let me check, and then yeah, well, then we should be good to roll. Hold on one sec.
Just until we have another option, I just killed this speaker in order to sacrifice for the stream. It's all about sacrifice, people. No refunds. Half a speaker refund is like maybe 10%, I think. Any, who's all debating tonight? Any debaters who bought debate tickets? Put your hand up, nice and high. 1, 2. Still only 2? Wow. Yikes. They have, it's up on our website, all that. I'd be surprised, but they are Trump supporters, so. No. Yep. We are live on Destiny's YouTube channel. Welcome, welcome. We were just in Phoenix. If you guys haven't checked out the video yet, head over to Pangburn. Check out the Phoenix video featuring Mr. Beef. If that's intriguing, I'm not going to say any more. You just got to see Mr. Beef to believe him. Yeah. Are you getting anything there, Stephen? Oh. Yep. Fantastic. I lost my, oh, there we go. Check 1, 1, 2. Rain on the water, boat on the track. Steven's got some cool headphones on. His YouTube chat is always like, get this fucking boomer off the stage. I am a boomer. I can't be any different. Lots of Q&A opportunities. Surely you guys don't just agree with Stephen on everything, because that would be weird. Rock and roll. Yep, a little bit more. You lie in faith, for you are called plain Kate and Bonnie Kate, and sometimes Kate the curse, but Kate the prettiest Kate in Christendom. Kate of Kate, Hall, my super dainty Kate, for dainty are all Kates, and therefore Kate, take this of me. Kate of my consolation. Yeah, rock and roll. At least we have, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cheat this. A little bit. Cheat it. Just turn it up a little. Yeah, we'll crank it a little more. Nice. Oh, I have emails from one debater. Stevens, too strong and powerful. He is the man, and Trump sucks. You already won the debate.
Nice. Okay, we see the guy on the switcher, and then we're good.
Yeah, I will jump on the switcher. He's stuck in some traffic. I think we're going to give people a few more minutes anyway. We're only 7:03, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still good. We're still humming.
Cool.
Don the Savior is out hunting a cable still right now, but.
I mean, I think this is probably fine. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Pretty good. Yeah, so we'll give our debaters a little bit of time. I know everyone's waiting. Everyone has a beverage? Everyone's chill? Sorry, we couldn't get a liquor license in time. We called so many companies and so we have to do this last minute event, and they're like, no. We're like, no, hear us out. Can you provide the alcohol outside the venue? One of them said, we actually can. We can set up like a portable bar as long as it's not on the property. And then people can walk in hammered, smashed, whatever. And then I was like, okay, that sounds like a workaround, but they were fully booked for obvious reasons. Yeah. Any more debaters walk in? We're stuck in traffic. Yay, we got another debater. Woo!
Okay, more quizzes. I'm just curious. Okay, so most of you guys here are from like LA or the LA area. Like if you're within an hour drive here, raise your hand. Just check. The vast majority of people here. Yeah, okay. You don't need to clap for that. Okay. You guys jerk yourself off enough down here. All right. How many of you guys know, like in your immediate family, so mom, dad, brother, sister, or maybe like a really close friend who you feel is like totally like lost to the MAGA stuff? Do most of you guys have? Do you think it got worse after like 2020, or do you think yeah? I'm kind of curious for you guys that argue, I guess with friends. I imagine if you watch me, you probably argue at least a little bit. What are some of the most common arguments that you hear from them where you wish that you could just like have a silver bullet? I can't give it to you, so if you're asking for one, I'm just curious. Like we're like, God, this thing comes up over and over again. What's the thing you hear most often? What about Joe? Oh, Joe Biden. Okay. What about Kamala? Media corrupt. The Jews. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm hearing the whataboutisms a lot. All right. Dems did it first. Yeah, okay. That was the thing I kind of... He's exaggerating. That's the thing I think we've been talking about on stream a lot, the idea that if they say the Dems have done a particular thing, then they have like infinite justification to do basically whatever they want. It's a very annoying tactic. I find that they break out a lot, but...
That's kind of like if your like little brother like flicks you on the face like that, you can just start beating the shit out of him. It's kind of that rule.
A little bit. Well, except he didn't even flick you. You just tell mom and dad he flicked you first, and then you do it. It's basically where we're at right now.
You bite your own arm, you know that trick, and then, Mom, he bit me. I used to do that one. Anyways.
We find out he's an only child. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, yeah, anyways.
Of the friends that you have that are like MAGA, for everybody that knows a MAGA person, do any of these people care about the Epstein stuff anymore? Or have they all kind of moved on? Or? Yes. Okay, we got one yes over there. Okay. All made up.
Does it make
what about for the people who know like the MAGA people, and this audience runs a bit younger, so it might be higher than normal. How many of them are thinking about the Jews a lot? Like hands up, I'm curious. If you have friends that are kind of a little bit? Okay, wait, if you have your hands up, keep them up for a second. I'm just curious. Can you keep your hands up if they're very critical of like the Trump-Israel thing? Okay, so maybe not that many, kind of. Okay. I feel like that was one of the most painful things for Fuentes and them, was to watch Trump be literally the biggest Netanyahu-Israel sucker I've ever seen. More than like Brianna Wu, who's like the biggest Israel champion of all time.
Nobody knows how to milk the Trump cow like Netanyahu.
True.
Handing him we thought you deserved the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh my God.
Here's the letter. Netanyahu's a genius for doing that.
He's not a genius.
Wow.
He's just manipulating an idiot. It's
there's
not much ingenuity there.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people would say like, you know, you should take the higher road with Trump and try to be like stern and be able.
Who says
but
that?
Isn't he?
I say that. I don't think anybody else says that. But the problem is if you're the one guy that's trying to take the high road and everyone else kind of like suckers out, then you're kind of left holding the bag, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Do any of your friends that talk? Well, I guess we'll have some debaters up. I don't want to give away the whole game, but have you guys, for the people with the MAGA friends, what do they say about like the crypto stuff, like Trump coin? Okay. True. Okay. Jeez. True. The Pelosi insider trading. That's a big one. Yeah. Do any of them watch Fox News, or do they watch no mainstream media? TikToks, Reels.
Joe Rogan only.
Joe Rogan only. Okay.
Mr. Peanut.
How many of you guys have heard of Adam 22 Studio Podcast? Any fans in here for him? Let's go. Okay, clap. There we go. Okay, thank you. Good job. It's over here in the corner. Great guy, great guy.
One thing before we get started, I just want to invite you all to join the Pangburn Discord server. We have good faith, helpful debates and conversations happening all the time on our Discord server, and everyone's welcome. We have people from all around the world. We have Muslims, Jews, Christians, atheists, left wing, right wing people. It's a more mature experience than some other Discord servers. Not saying anything bad about Destiny's Discord server. I'm sure it's fantastic. Yeah, I invite you all over, and make sure you subscribe at Pangburn. Check out some of our recent debates. Check out the greatest vaccine debate of all time. You will laugh, you will cry. It's very... and then also check out our most recent God debate between Alex O'Connor and Dinesh D'Souza, because Alex O'Connor is quite the rock star. He's kind of our atheist champion right now at Pangburn, and Stephen's our political champion right now. So
Well, I'm an atheist too, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we got to get some God debates rolling then.
No, I'm good. Never mind.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't want to do the God debate thing, but cool. Well, I think we should get rocking and rolling. We've had some debaters roll in here. And I don't know exactly who is who just yet. Let me get my...
Well, he's looking at that. How many of you guys in here watch Adam Mockler? Okay. How many watch David Pakman? Okay, a lot of... okay, more over here than over there. Are there any, Vosh fans in here? Man, we're... Okay. See a couple of you, okay. Any Hassan watchers here? Not hate watchers, doesn't count.
One.
Okay, kind of, all right. A couple. Man, who else is there? Oh, what about Brian Tyler Cohen? Okay, there we go. Any of you that watch video game stream stuff anymore? Like pro gamers or video game anything? Or man, we're losers. We just do politics. Okay, a few. Okay. Jeez. I became the man I never wanted to be.
All right, well, if you're ready to rock.
Yeah, go. Throw me up.
Baron, are you here yet? Baron, you're debating today? No? Charlie, you ready? Rock and roll. Okay, everyone, and please welcome to the stage, Charlie. Oh, yeah. Keep the round of applause going. Keep it going for Charlie. Oh, the holy man himself.
Hey, what's up? Oh, well, better fix that. How's it going? How you doing?
Good. How's everyone going?
Third.
Bunch of power.
Trump supporter in California, Southern California.
Well, so what happened is...
Can you pull the mic up? Make sure you're
Pull it
speaking
up.
right into it. Yeah. Okay.
Hello. So, well, I had an argument a few months ago, and that's when I got the ticket. And, okay, so I never did. I'm a musician. So
Wait, what do you
usually,
play for music?
Drums.
Okay. What kind of
Hey, now.
what genre?
Everything. I'm a drummer.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay. So a musician, drummer.
Yeah.
Kind of nervous. That's okay.
And so I kind of wanted to first kind of check in, from these debates, how's it going?
It's a very broad question. You want to?
How
I
do
can
you
answer
feel-
broadly.
How do you feel like the progress from what you're trying to achieve from them and from where you started and where you are now?
I feel pretty good about them. I think that when it comes to talking about debate and having debates, I think that there's a lot of different types of debates that you can have. I think there's a lot of different things that people are after, and I think you can have a lot of effects in different areas and on different people in different ways. So it's very general, but for instance, some people like to have the super TikTok clip farmy debates. Regardless of how I feel about them, they're effective. When people hear those snappy one-liners, everybody laughed when Ted Cruz said we need to stop bullying pedophiles, I think was the misspeak, the epic misspeak that he had recently. But and then sometimes in front of the congressional hearings, you've got the people that hold the posters and try to get the clips right. That works. Long-form debates, I think, are cool if the people are really well informed. You can get really into subjects. Seeing people debate, I think, is good because there's the idea of two people being able to still talk. There's something that happens there, some common denominator that has to be created in order for the conversation to happen. Sometimes at the very, very end of dead relationships, it's not when they're fighting, it's when they've totally stopped talking to each other that it's completely hopeless. So I think as long as people are still arguing, it's good. More personally for me, I think just because of the size of my audience and the size of the audiences I reach, I can kind of do anything and still get positive feedback. So it's hard to figure out like what works. Like sometimes in really aggressive debates, I'll get people that email me and they'll say like, hey, like I'm glad that you're a voice out there that makes me feel sane. Sometimes when I'm nicer, I'll get people that email me and say, hey, I like that you didn't trash this dude and made me feel like you were willing to hear my point of view. So yeah, I mean, there's a little bit out there for everything. Yeah, it's kind of broad, but
Okay, well, so I had the greatest argument on earth.
okay.
And I was excited for it. I bought the ticket. A week before this event, they send me an email with a bunch of rules.
Okay.
And to me, it made no sense because I had a way of how I could prove the earth is flat. I had it. No, I'm not even joking.
Go ahead. But how do you prove the earth is flat? Why not?
Well, this was what was wrong, is that it's round like a plate. And when you walk across, you flip over.
Okay.
But then I get an email, no bad faith arguments, and I was like, what is that? I don't even know what that means. And like I can put the words together, but I didn't know the actual definition. And I was like, this is ridiculous, because the only way you can have a Trump argument and debate is in bad faith. So the fact that you're putting those rules on me, because my only point of evidence was I was going to Catalina Island, and the boat, I knocked my head, woke up 30 minutes later in Shanghai, China. But obviously that's not true, but that's how you have to debate like them. Or you heard someone and that happened to. And so it kind of feels like clipping my wings. And, like think about when athletes were doing steroids. You can be honest and not do steroids, but everyone else is, so you just look like a little bitch.
I'm assuming you're making a broader point that it's hard to have like good faith conversations because everybody else kind of is not after that, or are we really just talking about using steroids for sports?
Well, I'm using that as an
Sure.
analogy, but what I'm kind of getting at is that you can't debate Trumpers or Republicans and actually expect to influence their mind, because they're either really dumb or they're doing it in bad faith. And what you got to do if you're trying to like really reach them is first earn, in a sense, like the friendship and the general shared like humanity experience, like we still get along. And then when you're comfortable with them, you earn their trust. Then you're like start being like, oh, you know what? This is what I believe in. It's a whole art to like talking with dumb people. Well, not even dumb, but like I'm dumb, It's like I'm a drummer. Fuck yeah.
I mean, like, I think so.
And I know that, so I know who to listen to. I know when people kind of, like, what I like about you is you read the primary source. And so it's like, okay, I'm not doing that, but I can trust someone to do it. But a lot of people don't realize that. So you're not going to actually really reach them with this. You have to act in a little bit of bad faith. And I got a couple of examples from when I see you debating like those college students.
Sure. Can I just address what you said before? I think I probably agree. The best way to change somebody's mind is to literally be like one of their closest friends, and then over time you have conversations, and like any friend group is going to pick up slang and vernacular, or they'll pick up ideas or memes, or they'll pick up eventually political beliefs or ideologies. Like that definitely happens. I think that there are different ways that things can plug in at different stages, though, even if you're not directly related to that process. So like if you have a friend and it's somebody that you talk to and you kind of argue with over time who's a close friend, it's nice to know the arguments. So sometimes like watching, whether you go to school or watch a debater or watch a YouTube documentary or whatever, like having the information in your head, I think can kind of help you along that process as well, even if the debater guy himself isn't the one who's actually moving the person,
Yeah, I see that. And I guess what I was kind of coming at when I thought it'd be worthwhile getting some FaceTime was to show you, like, really demonstrate when you're on the street, when you're traveling the country, like the real kind of things you have to deal with. And in the process of that, at this time, it doesn't seem to be working. And for example, like when I saw the college students, there might be some places like I can understand the love of a sport and seeing debating as just like, some verbal or like mental sparring. So I get that. But what I'm saying is like people get hung up on trans. And it is something kind of big that you can't ignore. Like logically, I agree with you that, there's so many problems out there. I mind my own business, you mind yours. Like I kind of get that, but I have a housemate that he refuses to mess with a lady unless he knew her since they were children or she's a mother. Otherwise, she's a man.
Otherwise, she what?
She's a man.
Okay.
According to him. That's how.
Oh, this is like a trans thing.
Yeah, this is how prevalent it is in people's minds. I'm not saying, and so what I'm getting at is when you try to like brush it over, like how many, it doesn't really have that effect. where you kind of got to just make it American. If you're trying to talk to and reach these dumb people, you got to kind of make it American and sexy, where you got to go in with that, like, you know what? As long as you don't hurt nobody, I don't mind. You do what you need to do. I'll do what I need to do. We're all coexisting. And then a little gospel. Be like, and who am I to cast the first stone? Where if I don't know what's like to want pussy so much that you lop off your own wiener just so you got your own cunt. And that way, if you're in like LA traffic, you
All
got
right.
I think,
wait. And
yeah, I mean, like, I understand what you're talking about in terms of types of arguments and things that can work, but I guess what I would say is that like no single vote determines the outcome of an election, generally speaking, but if everybody has that mindset, then you lose like kind of the power of your vote. I think that like one debate or one argument or one YouTube video or one discussion with a friend or one real life experience of a person generally isn't enough to totally change somebody's point of view, but I think it kind of takes everybody working together to make that happen. I think Republicans have done really good at this. Like they've done so, it's intentional. They've done so much like double speak and double play to where, you know, they'll simultaneously make it sound like things are hopeless. I make this joke a lot. Like, I think it's 70 to 80% of conservatives still believe that the 2020 election was rigged, but that didn't discourage any of them from voting in 2024. There's something amazing that's happening there where these people believe that Democrats are widespread rigging elections, but they still go out and vote. Or that they think that the Biden crime family is the most criminal family ever, but when Biden gets criminal immunity due to a Trump case, not a single conservative really cares about it. They're not really afraid of it. So I think that Republicans have been playing this game for a long time, where a whole bunch of them, from top to bottom, from talk radio to mainstream media to alternative media to leaking into the comedian world to the Gamergate world and everything else, they've been like playing this like 700 front war constantly. And especially after the last election, I think liberals like super woke up. They kind of did in 2016. We all owe that screaming girl an apology. Okay, she had no idea how right she was. And then even in 2020, when we won, it really wasn't as much as it should have been, honestly, against a guy like that, especially after everything. And then in 2024, it was like, Jesus, something is like super broken. And I think too often, we want to look for a simple solution to any problem. We want to look for like one thing we can do. But the reality is that conservatives are so far ahead in so many different ways, and they've been like fighting this war on so many different fronts, that for us to catch up, I think we also kind of have to start pushing back on a lot of different fronts. And, like having a friend and convincing him is good, but like all the other stuff I think is probably good and necessary as well. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying it's not necessary, but I'm saying to actually do some like serious damage for like unfucking America.
Mm-hmm.
And like another thing is Christianity. That's another one that gets hung up on. Like they're not really Christian. What they're doing doesn't follow the gospel. And so, but you still got to say, oh, I'm a Christian. It's because it's operating in bad faith. So it's okay, I think, to operate in bad faith back and be like, yeah, I'm a Christian too, like, because I do believe in the gospel. But then you kind of have to like fuck with their mind a bit and go do like, oh man, yeah, my favorite verse, da-da-da-da-da. What is it, like John 35:11? I believe the shortest verse in all of biblical history, where it's only 2 words. Jesus wept. And from that kind of shows, like, it's less is more. It speaks such volumes of meaning where, Jesus is on the same plane as us with that emotional distress and that heaviness of existence. And it's also thought-provoking because if Jesus wept, did he come too?
All right.
Final thought, I guess. Like, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. The only thing I would change slightly is like, you don't have to frame it necessarily as cynically, I think, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like this super subversive, bad faith process. You could also just like be a good Christian and like talk to your other Christian friends and kind of like move them in a better direction as well, Like one thing that I bring up a lot when I hear religious people talk about religion when it comes to politics is religion is always kind of used as this exciting weapon that they can wield to further whatever their personal beliefs or desires are. And I never hear it used in kind of like a restraining way, where it's like I use the illegal immigrant example, for somebody to say, man, there's a lot of illegals here, it's a burden on the system, but, what do they say in the Bible? We have to take care of our fellow neighbor. You never hear anybody use their religion in like a restraining way. It's always used to like galvanize support in some aggressive manner. So I agree generally what you're saying. I don't think it has to have like the super, just covert ops, malevolent, secret tinge to it. But
Well,
I do agree, yeah.
I'm saying then you might as well like change the name of the tours and the protests to, like No Keens and Unfuck America. What you're really saying, because as a debate, it's more of a sport, and not going to really undermine it all, but just say like fuck Trump, because that's what it's saying. Because if you really wanted to unfuck America, there's only one way. There's only one way possible you can do it.
Pull your dick out of it? I don't know what.
Nah.
What's that where we're going with this?
That's how you change the name. But the only way, if you really wanted to do it, is honestly you would have to run me for president with one campaign promise. And this is using my Supreme Court appointed executive ability and power as president to force Joe Biden, like a dog, behind the Resolute desk and govern the nation. And if anybody has a problem with it, they can talk to me. And meanwhile, me and Vice President Hunter Biden, all we're doing is smoking crack rock and fucking some...
All right. Let's put our hands together for Charlie. Thank you for coming up here, Charlie. Great run. He had a great run. We gotta agree. And he looks fly tonight. He looks fly. Do we have by the way, the Pangburn dialectical rules, all these rules he was talking about. So by good faith, I simply mean sincerity of intentions. If you Google good faith, it's going to talk about sincerity of intentions. So you got to have sincere intentions to have a good conversation on the Pangburn stage. Jordan Peterson, Dinesh D'Souza, all these guys have to agree to this. And then you also have to agree to be helpful. And then in the dialectical sense, being helpful in the debate sense would be if your interlocutor is struggling a little bit to deliver the strongest form of their argument, you help them to do that. You reach out and help them do that so you're contending with the strongest form of their argument, not only by their standards, but by your standards as well. So those are the Pangburn dialectical rules. Good faith and helpfulness. Christian Fan, are you in the house now? Yes, come on up. Put it together for Christian Fan. He's looking nice. He's got his army green jacket on. Go ahead, shake the hand of destiny.
Hello? Okay.
Also, in case you were wondering in that last debate, that guy was the average drummer for a band. So that's about what they're all. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'll say I've been following your career since like 2010, so it's kind of insane to talk to you in person. So
Cool. 2010.
yes.
Like Ustream, live stream.
Yes.
Okay, geez.
StarCraft
All
2,
right.
yes. All
Nice and close to the mic.
Oh yeah, close to the
thank you.
microphone.
Right
Okay.
on
Yeah.
that thing.
Okay.
yeah, so I've been watching since like Ustream the days, and then you transitioned to Justin TV, then Twitch, and then you got screwed by that owned company.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, what's up? What do you hear?
Okay, so I just want to talk about Trump's versus Biden's trade policy versus China. So I think that overall, I think I understand why Trump is trying to do tariffs and all these crazy economic policies. I think it's mostly to bring back manufacturing from the world and to change everything and to, I guess, cripple China in a way. So I don't think that is necessarily a wrong decision from Trump, but I don't think it's like it's not a wrong idea to bring back those things, but it's also not a economically wise idea at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is how I would approach this. Okay. So let's zoom out first. Okay.
Yeah.
If I wanted to fight with China, I feel like the first thing I would do is I would shore up my economic alliances with my most important trading partners. So
Yes.
in our case, it would be Canada and Mexico.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Trump has been a disaster as far as that goes, right?
Yeah, but Biden has as well too. So.
In what comparable way?
So there's things so I work in semiconductors, so I'm an engineer in that field. So one thing Biden did that was absolutely crazy was banning the AI chips export to China. What that did was it essentially incentivized the private and public industry to work together to make their own alternatives and their own supply chain. So now we have a bunch of $1 billion of China public government invested making these chips, making their own supply, and then getting separate from the U.S. And then Biden pretty much gave them an incentive to actually do that. So
How does if we tariff all of China, how does that not give them an incentive to literally just do that with every single thing though?
I mean, I don't agree with the tariffs in general, but
I'm just saying if I was to compare one policy for the other, it feels like
Yeah.
It feels like that would be that on crack. Like what Trump is doing with tariffing every single thing would just make it so China could do every single thing, right? Like they would just onshore all their manufacturing, whatever that means.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know if you heard about like recently Trump, like he's kind of like loosening those export restrictions.
Well, they're loosening and tightening all the time. It's hard to know
Yeah,
where they're
yeah.
actually at, right?
But I feel like Trump is he's more willing to do more business friendly. He's more willing to like, not in tariff way, but more like willing to do business with China in a way, because he's making sure that we can sell chips to China, which is good for my industry, what I work in, and he's making sure that that China is more dependent on our silicon too.
Well, so like, so then are we trying to compete with China or are we trying to work with China? Because I don't know now. I feel like
Both. You can do both.
if we're selling them all the stuff that they need to continue to grow their own, manufacturing and high level tech stuff, how is that hurting them? Like if it was hurting them so much, wouldn't they just put an import restriction on it?
Well, that's it. Like so there's things called like the private companies in China, like the Alibabas. Are you aware of them? Like the Tencents and.
I'm unfortunately aware of Tencent, yeah, 'cause I play a lot of League. But yeah, large companies usually have, I think, some like state, partly SEO, like partly like Chinese involvement with some of these, right?
Yeah, but most of them they don't want to do, like they didn't originally want to do their own investments into their own chips, because it's a very high intensive research and development cost, right? You can't just like, oh, I'm gonna make my own AI chips, like that's very expensive to do, right? You have to like hire everyone to do all that CapEx spending. So they were okay with buying American chips. And for a lot of big companies in China, like they just buy American chips because it's just more convenient for them to do. But now with Biden doing the export policy, he's basically giving them like, okay, this is something the U.S. can do, and they're willing to do, and they're willing to go beyond like regular trading policies. And no Chinese companies can depend on U.S. silicon.
I guess the thing that I'm not understanding from this position is whether or not you want to work with China and sell them chips or not sell them chips. It feels like the Trump position you like because we're being more adversarial towards China, but now you're saying that you didn't like Biden's position because he was adversarial in this way, but you think by being adversarial in this way, it's actually more helpful to them.
It's different because what Biden did was he banned the entire trade of the H100 chips from NVIDIA.
Sure.
But what Trump is doing, he's saying, okay, you can sell to China, but we get a cut of that revenue, which is a good idea because now we can use the revenue to reinvest into America infrastructure. So it's not a bad idea.
I mean, I don't know if the revenue cut that we're getting there is necessarily worth it. There's like a top-down world where I can see this happening, but the issue that I have is that I don't see. So like I said before, the first thing I would say is you shore up like economic alliances. The second thing would be that you isolate China in strategic ways, and then the third way would be that you make investments in industries, or you help your friends make investment in industries that would also be like threatening towards whatever it is you want to try to inhibit China from doing. I feel like Trump doesn't have any kind of like top-down cohesive view of anything. So even when he like might make accidentally the right move, it's hard to even give him credit for it because it's not part of a more comprehensive plan and it might be rolled back like immediately. Like I feel like, do you genuinely feel like in 1 to 2 years that America is going to be better positioned against China because of what Trump has done compared to what Kamala or even Biden 2.0 would have done?
So it's hard to say because like there's no one answer for economics. Like things were like it's not like, oh, we did this, it did that, blah blah blah. Like right, it's not going to be a linear path. But what Biden did was more insane because I don't think it's ever happened in like history of trade with China where you're banning a company from doing like a trade, and like that's something this is a very important like product they're selling to them. And now you made all the Chinese companies, you made the government realize they cannot depend on U.S. anymore for anything. Like so they have to do it. Even though their chips right now are inferior, they have to do it no matter what.
Yeah, but I'm sure they were probably working towards that anyway, right?
They were, but it was not as intense before the Biden.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's an inevitability, like, why not accelerate the time? Like, if we're assuming that this is like the way to go, like, shouldn't America just be investing in their own chips and continuing on that road?
It would be nice to do that, but at the same time, a lot of these semiconductor companies in America, a lot of the revenues come from China. So are you aware of a company called Qualcomm?
Volcom?
Qualcomm.
Oh yeah, they make Snapdragon chips and everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So something like 60-70% of the revenue is from China. So if you're saying no trade with China, you're basically bankrupting that company. So.
Yeah, but I mean, but like this is like the problem though, right? Is the idea that somehow America has to stand alone and be this like monster for manufacturing and everything else, but then also we want to go to war with every single country on the planet.
Yeah,
And, like you talk about like how painful it might be to cut off access to China. How painful is it for all of our exporters that are facing tariffs around the world now as a result of Trump tariffing everything else?
Like,
Right.
I don't agree with tariffs. I think tariffs are bad in general. I
Sure.
think,
Well, it's the cornerstone of Trump's economic
Yeah.
policy, so it's hard to be critical of those and supportive of his policy in general, right?
I'm trying to say, like, I don't support every 100% of all Trump's policies. I think most of them are not based on reality. I think I'm more. I'm
Well, so,
more
so you mentioned from a business perspective. Okay, so
Yeah.
what do you, in my opinion, there's one word I'm thinking of, like the most
Yeah.
important thing that you can have as a business is more important than anything else. What would you think? What would you guess I'm thinking?
free trade.
No, well, that's two words. But
yeah.
no, actually, not even free trade. It's stability, right? I want to know if I invest
True.
in something, is it going to be there in 5 years? I want to know if there's going to be like a reliable way to calculate my revenue,
Yeah.
my future markets, whatever else. Like it has to be reliable. Otherwise, you get these, huge tail projections where you don't know if a country's going to expropriate all your stuff, if there's going to be a violent revolution, if a country's going to make something that you do illegal. Like that could all be horrible. So I feel like when people say that Trump is like good for business, I feel like Trump has created one of the most uncertain like financial atmospheres in any of my lifetime,
Yeah.
maybe in the past 100 years of U.S. history, because who's to say what the tariff is going to be tomorrow? Who's to say, since none of this is being passed through legislation, who's to say it'll even survive the court orders? Who's to say the next president won't just rescind all of it? Who's to say that a deal won't be struck with some country because they say they're trying to strike deals with countries. Well, if I'm going to set up a manufacturing fab in the United States and the only way it's going to be competitive is with a 50% tariff with all my manufacturer competitors overseas, but I know that Trump is also trying to negotiate deals with those people, why would I even bother investing, right? I don't know how that's going to look. So I feel like it's horrible when it comes to stability, which is like one of the most important things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I actually.
Well, how the fuck can you like his economic policy then?
No, I never said I liked all of it. I like parts of it. Like I think.
How does that even make sense though?
I know, because I think what like.
If I gave you like a steak wrapped in diarrhea shit, and you had to eat the whole thing, would you say
Yeah.
I liked a little bit of it?
I mean, it's yes or no, so yes.
No, you wouldn't, right? I don't understand this. Because you gave me one. Did you hate all of Biden's economic policy, or did you just not like that one restriction that he put on chips?
I think the whole America is like going like ever since like 2016, like the whole like America been brainwashed to be like China hawks. It's like really stupid in general because you want to do more business around the world. You want to make more money. You want to. Grow.
I actually agree with that. I would be slightly critical of Biden for kind of carrying that on, but like that was because of Trump.
Yeah,
Trump is like the number one China hawk. Like this guy's talking about war with China and future conflict with China all the time.
Yeah, but he didn't go as far to ban AI chips. I mean,
There might have been one thing he chose, but like he's done like every other possible thing he can to like we just had this huge thing with the soybean farmer stuff with Venezuela and China, or Argentina. Sorry, my bad.
I mean, that's why like this is the only thing I would disagree with Biden. Like I don't think like you know how like he did like the solar panel tariffs and the EV tariffs. So like
Sure.
100%. Like how does that help America at the end of the day?
I mean, I don't disagree, but these are like free trade positions, and Donald Trump is like the biggest hater of free trade in the universe. So I just don't understand. At the end of the day, right? Like, so if I ask you, like, who do you think is better on trade? We'll just say on trade, and then economics in general, like Trump versus Biden. Like, why do you favor Trump still, or?
I mean, some aspect. I like because I don't know who's it's like who's the crazier person. Like, is it Trump or Biden on China hawk policy? Because like. Every time someone escalates, someone else has to escalate higher and higher and higher until they're like the biggest China hawk at the end of the day.
Yeah, but who do you think was driving anti-Chinese sentiment more? The guy who was apparently too tired and sleepy to even run his office, or the guy who called it the Kung Flu?
I don't think the words like rhetoric. I mean, like the policy-wise, it's more. I think Trump started it. Yes, I agree with that, but. Biden, he didn't stop. He's like, oh, I'm doubling down.
Well, on some things he did. I think it's hard once you've taken a combative posture, though, to kind of like levying a tariff, as I just say it, but like you have to engage in some kind of like trade agreement to start to bring these down collectively, because you don't want to be the one to bring it down alone. So I feel like I do disagree with Biden continuing, and I think even adding to a couple of the tariffs. I think it had to do with like electric vehicles, and I think it might have been solar panels or something. But like all of this, I see is like driven hardcore by MAGA and Trump. And then it's always like a weird thing to me when somebody will point out like one issue with Biden's policy, and then when it comes to trade or economics, then I'll ask about Trump, and it's like, yeah, that was bad, yeah, that was horrible, yeah, that was crazy, yeah, that was the worst thing ever. But like, I still think it's like, overall, like, what are we looking at? That, like, what's the saving grace here, I guess?
So, I mean, both. Well, I would say both Biden and Trump will contribute to the economic downfall of the U.S.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I think scratching your, hand over and over again and like increases the risk of staph infection. But there's so many other ways you can kill yourself. I don't want to get jokes right now. Sorry, bad joke.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that can be bad, but there's like significantly different magnitudes of badness between the two, right?
Yeah. I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, overall,
Like, do you think
Trump-
most of the world was happier or more upset trading with America or seeing America as a trading partner with Biden or with Trump? How do you even have to think about this?
Pre 2016, it was because Biden was the vice president, right? So it was better pre 2016, yeah.
Well, but 2016 to 2020 versus
Yeah.
2021 to 2025 or 4.
Because we're saying like, okay, like the world now, because like the world, China is like a huge GDP. I mean, like they were not happy with those tariffs and policies, so it's hard to say.
With what tariffs?
EV tariffs and solar tariffs.
They probably weren't happy with the 145% tariffs that Trump put on their entire market as well, no?
Yeah, but they weren't happy, but like I think Trump is basically using that like as like a negotiating tactic. Like I know a lot of
Okay,
those
which Crypto Bro podcaster do you watch? I need to know which one it is. The Sachs one or which? It's one of these guys. I know it's one of these guys.
Wait, who?
There's all these Crypto Bro finance podcaster guys who are all huge Trump fans.
I don't watch it. I don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't understand this. Help me understand this. When I look at Trump, I see everybody around the world hates the United States in terms of unreliability for trade.
Yeah.
He lied.
Sure.
You acknowledge he lied when he held up, like, this is what the tariffs are from other countries to us, right?
Yeah.
That was just a lie. So when he calls our tariffs reciprocal, that's also a lie.
Yeah.
And then we have, I think it's still 0 actual trade agreements with any other country. We said we'd have 100 and 100 days. So that was, I said, I won't have to call it a lie. I guess we'll call it unfulfilled.
I mean, you're asking me to like, I can defend all Trump's.
I'm not asking you to defend
yeah.
all of it. I'm asking you to defend any of it. But then for Biden, it's like, well, he doubled some tariffs that maybe we shouldn't have doubled that were already like on the way under Trump. But that's like ignoring all the rest of everything else too. I just don't understand how we can hate Biden for this one policy and forgive Trump for every other misstep and disastrous adventure we've been on. Yeah.
I guess like the goal of this conversation is like to understand like where because you can't agree with every politician and everything, right? That's impossible at the end of the day, right?
I agree with you, but like I'm looking for anything to salvage my Trump policy here. Like what?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like Trump is better on these anti-restriction, like right now, because like when Biden did,
you don't even like there were like a few months ago you wouldn't even have been able to safely say that because the tariff rates were changing like every few hours. Like some news that was like live to tape, like that they would report a tariff that had already changed.
Yeah.
And then like this is now, right? So far we're only at war with Venezuela and I guess our own population and Chicago and Portland and everything. But like who's to say, what's going to happen with Taiwan and China in 6 to 12 months if Trump has eliminated all of his domestic enemies? Like it's just like it's so much instability, it's so much lack of vision. Like I look at Besant, like a well-meaning father who's trying to explain why his son is a serial killer, but he's actually a good kid. Like every time he's on media trying to explain Trump's insanity to the news. Howard Lutnick is just fucking insane. Like I don't know what this guy where he even came from. Like,
I mean, like yeah, they're all insane. but
all right, you get the last words
ahead,
there, Christian.
Okay. So I mean, I guess that's that's one of my things I hate about Biden's policy and from the Democrats in general. But overall, I don't agree with anything about Trump. And the last thing I want to say is we should save StarCraft 2.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, put the hands together for Christian Fan. He was great. The Army jacket did it today. All right, it would not be an anti-Trump debate tour if we didn't bring someone up who's literally wearing Trump merch. The shirt says Trump, what does it say? Trump was right about everything. Welcome Brandon to the stage. It's Brandon. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh yeah.
All right, I'm short.
You're
You guys
good.
are
You're good.
tall. Okay,
Microphone right up to your mouth if you can. Yeah.
do I say a statement or you ask?
Whatever you want to do. I think Trump's wrong about basically everything, so we got a lot to talk about if you want, in terms of ground to cover.
The far left is nothing more than a coalition of fragmented groups standing on a platform of pure hypocrisy.
Okay.
That's my belief.
Can I ask, when you say the far left, who are we talking about
These
here?
people right here in this room.
Okay. Okay, so help me sort this one out, okay? Because this is my common rebuttal, okay? So when I ask people, like, who are the far left, okay? I get an answer like this, okay?
Right.
But then when they ask me and I talk about the far right, I would say the same about, like, Congress. So, like, I feel like as much as I love my fans and you guys are powerful, I don't know the capacity for changing the character of the United States or California or even LA. But for Republicans, I feel like they're changing the character of the entire country at an accelerated rate in a way that I really don't like. How can I make these two things equally threatening? Like, make me care about, you know, crazy college kids that are far left.
Well, the youth are the future, right? That's what we've been taught since we were born. The children are the future. So the reason why the far left leaning college kids are an issue is because these are the people who old people like me will hand this country over to. And we're in a time where, you know, it's an unprecedented access to new information, right? So you pretty much can go out and find something that supports what you want to believe within 2 or 3 seconds or minutes. It wasn't like that in the 60s. It wasn't like that in the 70s or the 80s. People had to actually go search for, you know, they had to go do research. You had to go to a library, open a book, and you know, when you're searching to find what you want to believe, like support for what you want to believe, oftentimes you'll find things that go against what you believe, but they make a lot of sense, right? Research is necessary. Now you put on TikTok, you got 100 people, an echo chamber saying exactly what you're thinking, and you really don't have a need to do any type of research, and that's the age we're in.
Sure, so I don't necessarily disagree with some of that. I mean, I would say that every age brings with it, like, access to information in ways that we didn't have before, right? And, you know, the printing press and, you know, radio and then TV. I think was Vietnam the one that they called the TV war, or whatever, the first, where you had people that had, like, video footage of soldiers coming back wounded and stuff, and you had a lot of college kids protesting that. For Iraq, that might have been the first time we had, like, embedded units where we were getting, like, reports, like, on the ground and video footage and everything, and now we're seeing, you know, 4K drone high-def footage of people blowing each other up in Ukraine, Russia, Gaza, Israel. Like, I do agree the information is increasing. The one thing I guess I don't like, or that I'm confused about when it comes to college stuff, when I look at, like, kids who are 18 to 22, aren't you supposed to be, like, kind of stupid? Isn't that, like, the time of your life to be crazy? Because if I talk to some, like, 20-year-old kid and I was like, tell me about your political outlook, and he's like, well, I'm a strong supporter of institutions and fiscal responsibility. I'm like, God damn, this is the most boring fucking household ever, right? Like, aren't they always, like, crazy? Isn't that normal?
Well, you know, Kamala Harris said the same thing about college kids being stupid, and look what happened to her. She didn't get elected, right? College kids are not stupid. They're in school for a reason. You know who's stupid? People sitting out on drugs, doing crime. They're stupid. College kids are in an age of where they're learning, and they're trying to grow into people who can, like, facilitate the continued prosperity of this country. Mm-hmm. The problem is we're not giving them a chance to learn through experience what older people, like their parents, already know.
What do you think is... So I do agree that college kids, for demographic reasons, and, like, if you're going to college, you're probably a little bit more intelligent. You go there to get more intelligent. Like, I agree with that. Have you ever played, like, board games or whatever?
Have I ever played board games?
Well, there's sometimes people are making, like, role-playing games. They've got, like, intelligence and you got, like, wisdom. Right. Some people might call, like, street smarts or book smarts or whatever. You know, however people are life experience, common sense versus, you know, knowing things. Like, college kids can be smart, but oh my God, they can also be fucking stupid, right? Like, you'll see, like, a guy who's 22, you know, graduating college, maybe 21 early, you know, like, drunk driving or making the dumbest decision ever for the first time, crashes his car, you know, gets his girlfriend pregnant, you know, whatever stuff. Because, like, man, their kids are dumb, they make dumb mistakes, they do that, it'll happen. There's no way, like, part of the learning experience is making those mistakes and being crazy and being cringe, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg's not stupid. He was that age at one point, and he created $1 billion company. The more access you have to information, the less ignorant you are of what's going on. I could see the college kid, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off or something, like back in those days, yeah, you kind of were expected to be a little bit dumb and gullible. But now people have information, they have answers to things at the touch of a button. I don't think they're as ignorant or as stupid as we would like them to be.
But I mean, like,
I think the Democrats banked on that, and it like blew up in their face. And I think that's one of the hypocritical aspects of the far left, is that they expect everyone to be so dumb that they don't actually think, you know, about the issues that they're expected to go vote on, and they just take somebody like Maxine Waters' word for it, somebody like Kamala Harris. Like, I don't think Kamala Harris is smarter than the average 21-year-old college student, honestly.
I think
They can string a sentence together. She can't.
Kamala Harris, if she can't string a sentence together, I have no idea how much you're paying for Trump translations, because there's no way you can understand anything that guy's saying. But like, okay, but let me just back up one more time to this, and then we can move on to the next thing. Do you have any kids?
Yeah.
You ever yeah. You ever have somebody who doesn't have kids try to tell you how to be a parent?
Here's the real question.
Yeah.
Do they?
No. Well, most of them probably don't.
So-
but I'm just saying that, like, no matter how smart somebody is, every parent's had that experience where somebody who doesn't have kids is there telling them, what they're doing. It has nothing about them being smart or stupid or whatever. It's just they don't have the experience, the lived
This is
experience,
why
right?
your premise is totally bad faith, because your audience is a bunch of people who don't deal with the everyday struggles that you and I deal with. So you can talk. Hold on. You can talk to them. Listen. Do you know how much I care about an illegal criminal alien immigrant when my daughter says, "Hey, Dad, I need $4,000 for club volleyball"? I'm like, I don't care about that. This is my issue that I have to deal with today. And when they have kids and they have to deal with paying for daycare, feeding those kids, providing a place for those kids to live, they're gonna care a lot less about some guy in El Salvador getting due process when he's a criminal and he should be deported immediately.
It depends on what your lived experience is,
No,
though, right?
no.
Like when I was growing up, okay, there were family members of mine that were criminal illegal immigrants because half of my family comes from Cuba. But now the difference is my mom loves the illegal immigrants from Cuba. She doesn't like the ones from South America or from Mexico.
Cubans traditionally hate illegals.
Well, once they're here, they do.
Of
But
course, that's the way it's supposed to be.
I'm just saying, you can't say, you want to say Cubans hate illegals. They all wanted Elian Gonzalez to stay when he floated over.
He was legal.
No, he wasn't. They
Soon
caught him
as
in
you
they were
touch the
illegally
soil.
immigrating. Wait. They were immigrating illegally.
Okay. But did he touch the soil?
So do asylum seekers.
No. You're being disingenuous. There was a law where Cuban immigrants.
Yes, we had us, but
they
wet foot,
touched
dry
the
foot, I
soil, they're
understand.
legal. So let what's his name? Elian
Elian
Gonzalez?
Gonzalez.
Hey, let him stay. I want him to stay because that was the law of the land. So that's the difference.
But we're not talking about just
it's
what the
either-
no, we're not talking about just what the law is. I'm just saying that people can have
We're
different.
not talking about the laws.
We're not talking about just what the law is.
Oh, just with the laws.
No.
Well, that's what I live my life based on.
Well, we can change the laws, right?
You can, so go vote. Stop complaining.
We can do both. I have a First Amendment
mean,
and the right
that's-
to vote.
and I
But I'm just
support
saying,
that.
I'm just saying it's interesting to give so much credence to Cuban immigrants, but not
Love
to
'em.
people from Mexico or South America.
Don't love them as much.
Why?
Because the Cubans believe what I believe. And they
So do a
understand
lot
what
of
I
Mexican
understand.
immigrants and everything too.
And I love those Mexican legal citizens.
Sure,
But
I'm-
as far
yeah.
as the illegal immigrants, ship them back.
Sure. Okay, that's a perspective.
This is a very simple thing to understand.
Well, it's not as simple. It's a complicated conversation.
It's
right?
really not.
If it was so simple, then Trump wouldn't have failed miserably for his first 4 years, and we wouldn't go these 4 years without him also failing miserably.
Trump
By the end of
won-
these 4 years, Trump will not have any immigration legislation, number one, and he won't deport more than 1 million or 2 million people, number two. I guarantee you by the end of these 4 years.
That's totally fine. So why are you guys using that as a political talking point? If
Well,
Trump
I'm not.
has-
You wanted to bring it to
what
legal
you're-
immigration, so that's what we're
what
talking
you're
about.
actually afraid of is that what's going to happen is the same thing that happened with Kamala Harris during the campaign. Trump came up with a good idea that gained a lot of traction when it came to getting votes, and Kamala Harris jumped on it. No tax on tips. You're afraid that the Democrats will adopt Trump's policies because they are the policies that resonate with voters. So you have to take the college kids, the people with no real responsibility yet. I'm not trying to devalue you guys' experience. I'm just telling you, have you ever looked at a freaking mortgage that was like $5,000? Have you ever? Most people have not at this stage
Yeah,
in
but
their
people
life.
aren't voting all
And
the time
that's
on
when you get 'em
wisdom.
young.
I saw Republicans celebrating the fact that they were going to have a tax deduction on the interest rate that you pay on a car loan.
I saw you
None of
guys
these people have
celebrate-
any idea what this even means that
I
they
s-
were celebrating it. So the idea that people have some nuanced understanding of tax brackets.
Republicans celebrated a tax on car loan. I saw you guys celebrate some dude getting shot in the neck and make a joke and laugh about it.
What-
Which one is worse?
I would say the one that's worse is the president tweeting videos of Venezuelans getting
The
blown up
one
in the
that-
ocean. Wait, do you acknowledge that if celebrating the Charlie Kirk thing is bad, the Venezuelan thing is real bad?
The Venezuelan issue, why is that bad for me as an American?
Wait, do you not care when other people are killed?
Do you know that people in other countries don't give a damn about what happens to you in America?
I don't
Have you
care.
been
This
around
is
the world,
our
Destiny?
government. Yes, I have. This is our government blowing up other people. Why am I not allowed to care about
Okay.
that?
But you care about the government and what they do when it's something you don't like. But when the leadership of the government is duly elected, you go and you tear at the validity of it as if, like, you don't respect the government, so why care about what they're doing?
If Biden was also
Overthrow it with
no,
the
if
insurrection
Biden,
like
if
January
Biden, yeah, I
6th.
know you guys tried that and failed once. If
I know.
Biden was doing this, if
We
Biden
failed.
was doing it, I would criticize Biden as well. I know it's inconceivable to MAGA sometimes. You could hold your own accountable because you guys are incapable of doing it. But when Biden does bad things, I'll criticize Biden for doing bad
Can
things.
you answer one question for me?
Sure.
Who's sitting in the White House?
Right now, probably Stephen
So-
Miller.
so-
What do you mean?
Go on. So clearly we didn't fail. We were pissed off. We went down.
Wait, what is this? The conversation is not about who won the election.
Why
You guys
not?
are the ones that don't believe election
Your
results.
whole
I do
ex-
believe the election
your-
results.
Your whole existence is about who won the election. This whole event is about
No,
who won the election.
we're having a conversation about policy and leadership right now, right?
We are, because I said the hypocrisy, and you're showing that hypocrisy.
What is
What's
the
price of-
hypocrisy?
Look, you have a kid, I have a kid. What's the price of eggs right now?
I don't know. I'm rich.
That's something that Yes. So give me some money. If
You know
we're-
what I do know
this-
is that the price of groceries as a whole has gone up over the last year, and no conservatives talking about it. Explain that one for
Hey,
me.
you know, I've been tracking that.
Okay.
We're living in inflationary times.
Oh,
if they could
now
take
they're
it
just
under
inflationary
Biden-
times.
Listen,
It's interesting that from
But-
2020 to 2024, it was Biden's inflation. From
I love
2024 to now, it just is a thing that happens.
it's directly connected to Biden's horrible management of the government, and Trump's gonna fix it. Let me say
What was
this.
the big thing? Wait, what do you think was what do you think was the number one thing that contributed to inflation through Biden's presidency?
I believe that, well, one thing was killing a bunch of chickens due to some
Okay.
mysterious.
That's
Well, that was
strike
Biden's
one.
reason.
Try
That was
something else. Try
no,
something else.
that
What
was
did anything else happen?
Is that not? Is
Did
that
anything
not,
else happen?
Wait, before
Yeah.
we go forward, is that not the reason that Biden said the price of eggs went up because they had to kill a bunch of chickens? due to
At
some
one point in time, it
avian-
might have been, but that's not what we're talking about. For the
Okay.
majority of his presidency, especially in the beginning,
So,
and then 2022 onwards, where were these big inflation hikes coming from? What were the two huge events that happened?
What I believe was.
Do we not know?
No. Let me tell you. This is what my research that I did, because I'll be honest with you, I
Okay.
wasn't deep diving
That's
into
fine.
this because I was working to feed my family.
Okay.
Okay. But I believe the price of energy increased exponentially.
Okay.
And that creates has a cascade effect. It raises the price of everything. Everything has to be shipped. If you raise the price of energy, then everything that has to be shipped, the price will go up.
Okay. I'm about to do a magic trick. Ready?
We know you
about to do a magic trick. Ready?
Make that disappear
So
for all these
I'm
people.
curious. Why was the last year of Trump's presidency so horrible for the economy?
COVID. It was.
Okay. So the whole world economy is shut down.
Mm-hmm.
The government is having to keep things running in every country. Why can we blame COVID for Donald Trump's last year on COVID, but we can't also recognize the worldwide inflation that happened? Did Biden cause inflation in all the other countries too?
Biden caused inflation in America by locking everything down, bringing the American economy basically to a standstill. We should have kept doing. Let me tell you this: during COVID, right? I still could fly from America to Africa. I did it 4 times during COVID. KLM was still flying in, the airports were still moving, everybody's going everywhere. I could still walk into Costco, Rouse, and Stater Brothers, but I couldn't go into a mom and pop store to buy something because they had to shut down due to COVID. I couldn't go to a small restaurant, while Gavin Newsom's restaurant, the French Laundry, stayed open. The small business is the engine of America. When you shut them down, you shut the economy down. Corporations don't employ more people than small businesses. So I like your question. I think it was asked in bad faith, but that's how Biden
I
shut
don't think
down
my
the
question was
economy.
asked in bad faith. I'll
Let me-
also
let-
remark that it was interesting that you mentioned having to work through COVID to pay for your family, and the cost of eggs is important to you.
Oh, yeah.
But you know the name of an international airline, and you flew to Africa 4 times during COVID. I don't know where.
Work hard.
That's
Prices-
working hard, yeah. Okay, but I'm
That's-
just saying that everybody around the world was figuring out how to deal with COVID.
Uh-huh.
There were a lot of shutdowns. There was a lot of worldwide there was a lot of inflation everywhere. It's just strange that, when I'm asking, like, well, why for Biden? What happened in the United States? Well, it was like the
just
after
told
effects
you.
of COVID was happening, right?
Biden came in immediately, signed a bunch of executive orders that halted our economy. And then
That things were already shutting down under Trump.
no, what? What was shutting down under Trump?
Everything.
No, don't say everything. Tell me what was
Schools, businesses. I lived in
Schools
California. Did
are
you
not
live here?
business.
Do you live in California?
Yes, I do. Schools are not business.
When COVID started, everything was shut down. I drove up and down the 5. I could go 10 miles in 10 minutes for the first time in my life in this
Destiny-
state. Who remembers this?
De-
Everything was shut
Destiny,
down. Hold on. I
you're
remember the
doing the
lines
Destiny
outside
thing.
the grocery store. I lived in Culver City. I remember the lines outside the grocery stores where everybody had to line up to get groceries. That was
Right.
all of that under
Do
Trump.
you know why they had to line up?
Because Biden did it from the future? Was it the T-1000?
Because the small. No. That's because people were going in.
Under Trump.
No, but you know what was happening. People were fighting over.
If
groceries.
Trump didn't shut down the economy, then why did COVID hurt
Trump
his
didn't
economy
shut
at all?
down the economy. Okay, look, like I said, the whole. You asked me a question. Can I ask you a question?
You haven't
'Cause
answered
we're
any of my
not gonna-
questions.
I really did.
Can we acknowledge that
I explained the thing about
all the
small
shutdowns and all that
businesses.
stuff happened? That was under Donald Trump.
No, that was not. I don't know.
He was the president in 2020.
What did Trump shut down? Please tell me.
All the
What
states
border?
that shut down.
The states are sovereign. So the
Then why does Biden get blamed for
Wait a
anything?
minute. Can I finish?
Sorry, go ahead.
Can I finish?
You can finish.
Okay. The blue states shut down, draconian lockdowns. The red states, most of them did not. So that's the sovereignty of the state. But when Biden came into office, Biden was putting the pressure on the states to shut down. He was putting the pressure on the businesses, on the states to lock down. So when the president says something, that gives validity to the illegal things that the states are doing. If Gavin Newsom is doing illegal shutdowns, if the president says, yeah, you should shut down, now it's easier for them to do because people look at
Then
look
why
at it
didn't
like the
Donald Trump
president
just tell all the
supports it.
states to open up?
He did.
No,
he was
didn't.
telling.
No.
He was encouraging
No,
them.
he wasn't. The United
No,
States declared a
Destiny-
global. This was one of Trump's biggest. I know we forget
All
because
right.
we like to wipe the past. Donald Trump's biggest accomplishments was him shutting down flights from China and recommending people, take precautionary measures. Everybody blamed Cuomo in New York for murdering all the old people by
But-
sending grandma to an old person's home or whatever.
But didn't the Democrats argue that Trump didn't shut down flights in time? That's how COVID got into America.
Sure, because you could argue that
No,
you
which
could have
one
made
do
it
you
earlier.
want? Do you
Hold
want
on,
to shut it
wait.
down or
I'm
not?
not. You're talking about what the Democrats said.
No,
I'm talking
you're
about
bringing-
factually what happened.
I'm bringing up what. Listen,
I'm just talking about what happened.
I was in Frankfurt Airport when Donald Trump shut down all flights coming from Europe into the United States. And I watched as airlines flew people into Canada and they went around Trump's rule.
Okay, so if
his
Donald Trump was
order.
shutting down flights, wouldn't you say that counts as pressure to shut down the economy?
Because the Democrats were they were on one side. Okay, so on one hand,
Okay.
you want the flight shut down.
We're
When
not
Trump-
talking about what I want. I'm just talking about what happened.
No, I'm talking about the hive mind.
You're talking
The
about
hive
anything
mind.
but what would give Trump
I'm talking
accountability
about-
for anything.
You guys all think the same, so I'm just addressing you as general.
You
So,
said we all think the same. I literally predicted
should
like
Trump
2 of your
have
answers
shut it-
so far.
Let me
Like,
ask you a
what do you mean?
question.
Yeah.
Should Trump have shut it down, or should Trump have left it open?
I don't know what Trump necessarily should have done.
that's
And-
why I
no,
said
no.
it's
Let me
bad- it's
finish.
bad faith. It's
Can I
bad
finish
faith.
my? I let you
I
finish.
don't know.
I don't know what the answer should have been, but I know what the process should have looked
What
like.
would you
and
have
that
done?
was the process should have been him conferring with the National Institute of Health, the CDC, and him conferring with the state governments to put together some kind of comprehensive guidelines for the whole country instead of hanging out Fauci to dry, watching the CDC and the NIH issue some kind of guidelines, and then whenever anything didn't go perfectly as planned, him lobbing grenades from the side like a loser, blaming everybody else for all of his problems.
We're not going to disrespect the president. We all watched the video. We all watched the video of Anthony Fauci saying, "Oh, COVID-19 is not a big deal. You get a little flu. You might have a little cough, sneeze, whatever."
That was Trump.
That was
When
no.
Donald Trump.
There is a video. I watched it with my own eyes. Fauci dismissed COVID as a very minor thing. Later on, and Trump went with Fauci's advice. Then when they start saying, then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Oh, he should have shut this down and shut that down." I saw the trick. I saw how they went from saying it wasn't a big thing to worry about, and then all of a sudden it was the worst thing ever. But what I'm telling you is the arguments are in bad faith. Everything in this movement is built on inclusivity, equity, and justice, all this crap, right? But my thing is this: if we want inclusive, like, would you guys agree you want inclusivity and equity and all that? You guys don't want that.
Not anymore.
Do you guys want? I'm asking this question. I'm asking this question sincerely. This isn't good. Do they believe in that? Do you guys believe in that? Inclusivity, equity?
The problem is
No,
like this
I'm asking-
conversation is pivoted to a DEI question after your president
This
killed
is
like
what
a million
they
plus
believe in.
Americans, killed a million plus Americans by telling them not to get
You're
vaccinated
here
because
be-
nobody had any idea what was going on in this country, what was going on with our health, what was going on with anything because of all the lies and misinformation and crazy stuff that was being put out.
So you don't know what Trump should have done, but you criticize what he did. And what I do, because this is how my parents raised me, I put myself in that person's shoes.
I told you what the process should have looked like. I don't know what the correct answer
I'm
was.
asking you, what would you have done?
I just told you.
No, you didn't.
You bring your cabinet, your leaders together, you make a comprehensive plan, you get all the governors on board with it, and then you have a unified plan from top to bottom for how you want to approach the country shutdown.
How do you do that when you have a two-party system where one side is vehemently opposed to working with you on anything? And I'm not saying.
Hold on, wait, excuse me. First of all, Donald Trump billed himself as the negotiator.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, you want to talk about a party that was opposed to everything. Seems like Biden had no problem bringing Republicans in to work on his legislation. When McConnell was the leader of the Senate, he said that he was going to make Obama a one-term president and shut down every piece of legislation that came across his desk.
Right.
So who's working with who here?
I think that there's room for bipartisanship. I do not believe that the Democrats were working in good faith with Trump because they were not happy that an outsider actually achieved the office of president like Trump did. They literally blocked Trump on so many different things. Listen, they basically were doing the same thing to Trump that you said was being done to Biden.
I don't even want to know what you're implying.
Okay,
what
yeah.
was the same.
So this is the thing.
When I'm saying, first of all, Trump is not an outsider. Also, so
He's
Wharton
an
graduate,
outsider. He was not a
billionaire guy,
politician.
real estate investor.
He wasn't a politician.
So I mean, I don't know. Reagan initially wasn't a politician. What do you mean? Arnold
That's-
Schwarzenegger was an actor. He made like.
yeah. Some of the best. The
I
best
think
were all
people.
outsiders.
When I see a guy who's being an asshole, I think people probably don't like him because he's an asshole.
What does being an asshole have to do with anything?
With whether or not people like
Are
you?
you not going to go to work because your boss is an asshole?
There's a lot of people that quit their job because they hate their boss. Yeah.
No,
what do you
no.
mean?
Those people are idiots. But what I'm telling you is, this is more like the lane that I argue in. Reality. You're arguing feelings, subjective crap that doesn't mean anything. Objectivity. If I want to argue something, objective. This is about inclusivity, equity, all that stuff.
Okay, if you wanna argue-
Why did you guys have to pay? If it's all about inclusivity and equity, we could have did this in the park with an iPhone.
If you want to talk about
You
facts,
should donate
if
your
you
money to
wanna
their
talk-
their colleges,
If
like
you wanna
scholarship.
if you want to talk,
I think you should donate the
if you wanna
proceeds
talk,
of this event to
right now,
their
I'm donating
education.
my money and my taxes so we can pay for a Venezuelan bailout.
Will
That's
you-
what we're doing right now.
will-
Or
listen,
Argentinian bailout.
listen.
I don't even know who we're bailing out
Listen,
right now. Okay.
you would like what?
So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm subsidizing all of the meth
Can I
head
make
measles
one
infected red states
May I
right now.
please-
That's where my tax money is going. Okay. I don't have any extra money
May I
right now to
please make
donate.
one
Okay.
statement?
What?
May I please make one statement?
Go ahead.
And I'll get off stage.
No, wait, hold on, wait,
I'll
no, wait.
stay
I have one
here, I'll
question.
stay.
Why, if you want to talk about facts over feelings,
Let me get one
why is
statement.
it that when we ask about Trump's leadership through COVID, we have a million excuses for?
I don't have any excuses.
So he failed.
I'm not going to say he failed. I think he dealt with. No, listen. How can someone who admitted that they don't know what they would have done and they don't know what he should have done?
I wasn't the president.
That's the point. It is something that has. This is something that in our lifetime has never occurred.
Yeah, these are the Democrat arguments for why people were shutting down and people didn't know how long the economy should stay closed
How-
for and what the stimulus should look
Listen,
like.
anybody can armchair.
Did Trump make any
Listen,
mistakes during COVID?
Look,
Did Trump make a single mistake during COVID?
let me think. Did January 6th happen during COVID?
Maybe, yeah.
He should have never conceded the election. He should have just freaking cast. That was his only mistake. That was his only mistake. Now can
Okay.
I ask my question?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. All I'm saying is, will you, since we're all about flowers and equality and everybody get free stuff, people will argue for illegal criminal alien migrants to come live off the American dime, right? You want to give my taxpayer dollars to them. Will you give the proceeds from this event to these kids for whatever they want, just to make their life a little bit more equal to yours and mine, since we're doing so well?
I've never advocated for that. What are
I'm
you
just
talking
asking.
about? Well, there's no advocation for this.
So you don't want equity and economic equity?
Do you support Chicago police fighting back against ICE?
No.
Okay, so then you don't believe in the Second Amendment or the state's rights to have a militia.
No, that's not a militia.
That's
though.
literally
That's
what the
not a
militia is.
militia.
The whole reason the Second Amendment
Are you
exists was for
really-
the states to protect themselves from a tyrannical government.
Are you really gonna try to conflate a paramilitary group, which is
The
police,
Chicago
the
police?
police department?
is paramilitary, but the guys coming from the Black Hawk choppers with the masks who are
Dude, these guys have tanks. There are police departments with tanks. No, there's not.
Paramilitaries have tanks. What are you talking about? What does that have to do with
There are
anything?
police departments with tanks.
Well, so yeah, they get it from
Okay.
the military.
That makes them paramilitary. What I'm telling you is this. That is not a militia. The police, the law enforcement's job is to uphold and defend the Constitution. That's what their job is.
To enforce their
When
state
they're
laws.
fighting against
to
the
enforce
federal-
their state
when they're-
laws.
no, when they're
no
listen,
state sovereignty doesn't matter
when
now to
they're-
conservatives.
You're conflating two different
I'm not
things.
conflating anything.
You kind of just going off of an emotional thing.
I'm
That's
not going
okay.
off an emotional. I'm going
You
off
really
a legal
are.
thing. You're going off of emotions. You think
The-
cops are there to
the
make you
go-
feel
the
good.
federal
State
government-
police are there
the
for state
federal-
laws. Local police are for local laws. The federal government is there
The
for federal
federal
laws.
government trumps, no pun intended, any local law enforcement.
If they trump any local
Is
law
that
enforcement,
wrong?
well, you tell me. Why did Trump allow half the country to close then under COVID?
Huh?
Why
You're-
did Trump
you're
allow
moving
half
the goalposts, Destiny,
I'm
and
not
I'm
moving the
doing that
goalposts.
with
The
you.
president has that
I'm
much
not doing
control
that
over
with you.
everything.
I'm not
Then
doing
why
that
did
with
Trump
you.
allow half the
Look,
country to close under COVID?
Someone may want to do that with you, but I'm not doing it. Are we talking about the police departments committing treason against the federal
They're not
government?
committing to. They have no obligation.
That's exactly what they're
They
doing.
don't have
do.
obligation to enforce
They
federal law.
took an oath to defend the Constitution
There's-
and the
it's-
citizens under their care.
The police force is there to enforce the laws that they have jurisdiction
Right.
over.
But
not
the
federal laws.
But the police forces are abandoning their responsibility, like
not
in
abandoning-
Portland.
they don't have an
Come
obligation
on,
to do
man. They
that.
did. When you call the police in Portland, they don't show up for 3 hours. Someone got knocked unconscious the other day in Portland. The ICE agents had to come get that guy off the street and bring him in for medical care.
Yeah, there was a lady that got shot and killed by the feds
Okay.
in the Capitol building
Those
on
things
January 6th when Trump refused to send anybody there
She
to.
shouldn't have been trying to break into Congress.
Sure,
Or
but
into-
Trump also probably shouldn't have told them all to go there, right?
He did tell him to go peacefully.
No, he said they
And
would be marching peacefully. He also
patriotically.
don't fight like hell or they're going to lose their country. And that's what they went and did.
Hey, I saw you lose this argument on
I
Jubilee.
didn't lose
don't
this
wanna
argument. I won
rehash
it
this
completely.
out
It's
again,
completely
like,
100%. I know
listen,
every part of that argument.
Trump
Trust
said
me.
peacefully and patriotically.
Trump said fight like hell or
ev-
you'll lose your country.
every-
If he said peacefully and patriotic, how did so
So-
many people misunderstand him?
So anytime you, so
Is he a bad communicator too?
listen, I heard Hillary Clinton say, "I'm a fighter." Kamala Harris said, "I'm a fighter." Neither one of these women have ever.
How many people do you see
have
fighting
ever
in the
thrown a
street
punch.
with Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris banners?
Dude, I saw a kook on the freeway earlier. Biden Harris and Harris Walls on the freaking bumper sticker with all these other cat stickers.
You saw a car driving.
These are. How did they get?
This is
a
like the
license?
conservative machine
How
right
did they
here.
get a
This is your
license?
problem.
Yes.
Is the bumper stickers.
Yes,
That's what's
yes.
driving you crazy.
I'm just listen, Destiny. I'm a common man, and my concern.
You had 4 trips to Africa over COVID. What kind of
What can I
common
say?
man?
Very common. I'm a common man. I have my concerns are those of a common man. Arguing all these different issues, it means nothing to me.
Not compared to DEI?
How do I feed my family? And are you going to give the proceeds from this event to these beautiful people who showed up? I
After
don't think
you
they got
defend-
the show they wanted because those first 3 guys were
After
terrible.
you defend states' rights to defend themselves
Let's
from a
have
tyrannical
equality.
federal government.
How about this, guys? How about I'll give you everything in my pocket, you guys divide it up immediately. Destiny donates the proceeds of this event to you guys equally.
All right,
I
final.
think that's a good idea.
Brandon gets the final word there. Brandon gets the final word. What do you got?
My final word is this, guys. Just wait a little while. Don't be so. Listen. Don't be so hyped up over what's happening even now. In 3 years, Donald Trump's going to be gone, and you're going to have to make a very important decision about the future of this country. I would start preparing to make the right decision about that instead of complaining about something you can't change. Trump will be president for the next 3 years, whether you like it or not. In 4 years, a lot changes. A lot of you will have families, maybe kids, whatever that you want or you don't want. When you start having those type of responsibilities, your entire perspective is going to change. Mine did as I got older. I would not hang my hat on this crap because you're going to inherit this country and your children will inherit it from you. Don't create a situation that they can't come back from. And I think that's what we're at risk at with this type of rhetoric. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brandon. Put your hands together for Brandon. He had a really good run. All right. Wow. Just by show of hands quickly, how many people have kids in the audience? Okay, yeah. Yeah, we have some parents in the audience, just FYI. I have a kid. Okay. Wow, that was a good run. We're going to go straight into our next debater. Let's put our hands together for Eugene Janis. Everyone, here comes Eugene.
Travis,
What's up, buddy?
bottle of water? Hey, what's up?
Hey. Okay, so immediately, I am not conservative. I am left. I am
Speak into the mic if you
Democratic
can.
the whole
Good.
time here.
Okay, okay.
I'm actually here to have a good faith corroboration debate thing, as one of the complaints I've been getting so far messaging wise is, especially with the Prop 50, we got to get this, we got to win, that's it. The only thing, my biggest concern is they say that, and they say it in a way as if we don't win, they don't have a plan for afterward. So I kind of want to ask people, what's your plan for after Trump, and what could be a thing to actually move forward for it? Because right now there's housing.
I mean, some people would say that after Trump is like, that is a plan that we even survived.
Yeah,
and
like
have like
absolutely.
an actual
But
election.
it,
event.
if you were trying to motivate people to survive through it, what would be a thing that could be actually pushed toward it? And I have some ideas, and we can go through some of them. But
Expedition 33 has been a fun game.
yeah,
No, I mean, like, part of what you're saying, part of an issue, there's like so much. You could write a dissertation on several aspects of this, I think, but there's this whole media environment that conservatives have had top-down control of, and there's this whole like movement that they've had so much control of. And one of the nice things I feel with conservatism is there's always an enemy, there's always
Yep.
marching orders, there's always something to fight against, there's always some like greater project or thing or movement, you know, you're a part of. Whether you're protecting, the wiener dogs from the evil Haitians eating them,
Yeah.
or whether you're protecting your borders from the 5, 10, 15, 25 million immigrants, however many are coming in, they've always got a thing to work towards. I think that one of the consequences or side effects of Democrats always being on the defensive when it comes to Republican messaging is you never really get to establish your own thing. Because you're always living like in the shadow of the criticisms of the other party, saying like, well, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that, I'm not Trump, I'm not this, I'm not whatever.
Yeah,
and
he
so
does
you have a
about
hard time
whatever.
like coming up and defining what you're doing. I really like that Newsom responded to Texas with the mutually assured gerrymandering
Yeah.
or whatever. I thought I was
Just match
so.
it.
That was
I'm gonna
amazing.
negate
I never would have
stuff.
expected anybody to do that. It made me almost consider moving back to California.
you should. It's great.
Almost.
Oh.
But the thing is that Democrats just have to do a better job at like so many different things, and I think that other things will come as a result of doing some things well. So more specifically, I think that if Democrats had stronger media figures that weren't always getting stabbed in the back, okay,
Yeah.
by all the other pundits and all the other people on the left who could come out and have stronger positions,
Yeah.
then I think that you would just see like there should still be an intentionality behind creating movements and policies and ideas to do things, but you would at least have that naturally and organically happening with some of these figures. Gavin Newsom is one. As much as this guy's way to the left, I think Mamdani in New York City is probably going to be
Yep.
another one. AOC to some extent, is one. She's
Yeah.
kind of in the background, but yeah,
I
so
think a lot
yeah,
of
that's important.
a lot of the stuff I watch online, I watch you, I watch a bunch of other people. There's a point where I almost just ask the question, like, are they cooperating? Are they doing everything possible to at least show that they're trying to make efforts, burning calories to do things,
Who's
share
they,
metating?
people or politicians, or who are you talking about? 'Cause
Even like how many people are just backing each other on certain things? You know, like
are you talking about like the political group, or are you talking
yeah,
about like
or sharing, or hey, when you're
Okay.
done watching me, go do this. Or the other one is if anybody watches John Oliver, my biggest complaint on his show is he gives us a bunch of shit that is absolutely horrid doomer shit, and then doesn't tell us what to do about any of it.
Sure.
Like just, I don't know, eat it, get ulcers, fuck off, see you next week. Like, it's unhelpful.
I mean, I agree. I think that part of this, I've talked about this a lot on stream, is the idea that the sides are playing different games sometimes. So on the conservative side, they are playing the politics game. It is the Game of Thrones. They want to win their seats, and everything they do at the end of the day is geared towards some political
Right.
end. And on the left, that's not really the same game that I think a lot of the kind of alternative media people are playing. And as a result of that, they don't play it the same way. Like, if you've watched my stream for any number of years, like you've heard me remark how crazy it is that, you had fucking Benny Johnson. God, what a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Okay, and like even like for his class of people, he's even a loser. He's just like, Jesus, you'll never meet. Raise your hand if you've ever met an actual Benny Johnson fan in the real world. Anyway, okay, we got one guy over there met him. Okay, guy who manages his YouTube. What? They're in Russia.
Yeah, they're in Russia.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Do you speak Russian? Okay. Okay, so you know, you have him doing shows. I believe it was out of the White House. They invited
Yeah,
a bunch
a
of
couple of 'em.
And then on the left, you've got like, so for a while, I don't know what the streamer numbers are for other people, but you know, me, Hassan, and Vash are like the three largest ostensibly left-leaning streamers, and we can't do any content together. 'Cause
Yeah.
those two hate, you know, everybody for
Absolutely.
different
It's
reasons.
uncooperative.
Yeah,
They're
there's
like,
no cooperation anywhere, and you're seeing this like cringe. I'm trying so hard. I imagine if you have that's too edgy. Yeah, there's some people that are hard to love. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm trying my hardest to love Hakeem Jeffries, and my God, watching him say anything positive at all about Eric Adams fucking killed me. I'm like, please God, stop. If you guys say you don't want to, you know, endorse Mamdani for whatever reason, you know, okay, whatever, maybe I get it. But like to sit here and simp for this loser, yeah, the Democrats just have a really hard time kind of like bringing people together, working together, and that extends from the political figures down through to the influencers and the YouTubers and everybody else. It's an issue.
Like,
Yeah.
One of the things to take like a news diet off of for a while, and I chose extremely poorly. Don't do this. I started researching cults, and that was a bad move on my
Well, you don't
part.
even have to turn off the news right now to research.
Yeah, well, like that turned in, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many similarities in between, and you know, you kind of come up with your own theories and stuff. But like, I would say my upbringing was very old school Italian, we'll say, like lots of hand waving and screaming at each other and stuff. That was how we showed love. Later, I realized, oh, that's hardcore abusive in so many ways, but it has prepared me for having conversations with other people, such as the last guy that was here or anything like that. Just not backing down. You don't have to escalate, doesn't have to get violent, but also I can't just cower down and just let you steamroll me over that. And I feel like that's an actual thing to take pride of in America, that most people didn't have to deal with that. But now it's almost a requirement because they're just unprepared for this kind of battle.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it, unfortunately, comes down to people don't talk about this as much. We say like, oh, misinformation, and we kind of like move on from it. But like,
Right.
the internet has truly changed everything. And you know, like in some ways, you know, like I feel better sitting across from like an actual neo-Nazi who
Yeah,
has
yeah.
like a strong belief system that's opposite mine, and you know, we can have the fundamental differences, you know, morally. For the last guy that sat here and argued with me, my feeling, I could be wrong, but my feeling is that he probably wants what's the best for this country, what's the best for his family, best for his, you know, his children, everything else. And I think that it's tragic that there is such a wall of like different realities that we
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
communicate with each other. And especially when there is so much incentive online to feed people certain realities, because you make money on the algorithm, or other people are making money, you know, pushing propaganda or whatever, or because the Republicans are playing the politics game a little bit too
Yeah.
well. So,
Do you think that could actually be a platform to run on of like, we're going to fix internet or fix the algorithms?
Absolutely not.
Or no?
No.
Just full on no?
No, because I think one of the issues is it's hard to tell people this, but people like it. I think people want it. You know, like, I mean, how long did you watch me do my COVID lab leak research?
Yes,
That's
that
some
was-
boring stuff, right?
that was
That's
boring.
agonizing. But watching me go outside and scream at people online is really fun. And people like that more. Now, my audience is special, and I would never criticize them for anything. But, like, you can see, like, where the interest is in terms of what people consume. I wouldn't mind it so much as though I wish that people understood more what they were watching, and that it was more accurately understood what was being shown. So like if you want to watch like you know, videos of Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk or Destiny or whatever, you know, like screaming at college kids
Right.
and owning them, I think you should be able to do that, and I think it's fine to do it. I think it's fun to do it, but
Yeah.
know that you're watching a professional like smurfing through a bunch of college kids and annihilating them.
Yeah.
You're not. This is not like a serious intellectual good faith challenge between two equivalent
But
parties.
what about, say, like social media algorithms? You can identify where the account is from. You can come like, oh, this is clearly, I don't think they have America's best interest because it's from China, or something like that.
That
or,
personally, I think that I've said that for a while. That should be like a law that I think is passed. That if there's like a major enough social media account or media figure, their country of origin should be identified.
Yeah.
Because I think if you consumed media from 10 different large accounts and that law went into effect, and the next day you found out that like 8 of them were from Russia, 1 was
Yep.
from Qatar, and 1 was from China, I think it would make you look at those accounts like a little bit differently.
Yeah, I would hope so. And would you want to retweet them or kind of investigate them more? Or maybe I don't want to do this. Can I start unfollowing them? Something like that.
Yeah.
Like
Because I think one thing, you know, I say this a lot when it comes to the whole, you know, who disavows violence first or mutually assured destruction. One thing I mentioned when it came to the Russian-led DNC and
The
was it the
hacks, yeah.
DCCC hacks or whatever is selective transparency is worse than no transparency.
Yeah, 'cause it
it's
gives
better to know
authority to it.
nothing than to gather a few facts, because when you gather a few facts here, you start to make assumptions about that,
Yep.
and you might be way more wrong than
Just
if you didn't
fill
know
in the
anything
gaps.
at all. Yeah, so I feel like if we had, a media environment that was a little bit more regulated in some ways, but like people just don't. I don't know anybody that would actually want that. Nobody's like really pushing for that.
Yeah.
But having
Well, I
some of
think
the
it's
selective
also-
skepticism, like for like just real quick, and like APAC
Yeah, yeah.
is the thing that everybody knows, right? Everybody talks about APAC, but it's
Yeah.
because they've got a public register and you can see everybody they donate to and everything else. But you don't know who the foreign people are supporting, or you don't know who's behind a lot of the big Twitter
Yep.
accounts. So yeah.
And I guess I would also add in there, like, some of the things that, like, housing could affect everybody, MAGA and whatnot, but, like, something quick would be, like, an automatic, like, better spam laws for texting or cell phones,
I think
something
Bush
like that.
passed some of those, didn't he? The
And they all
no-call
got
list?
repealed, yeah.
Did they?
Or,
Oh.
well, that and a lot of our technology is
Just got more
old
sophisticated.
because we have to have backdated stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But like upgrading some of that or something that could be noticeable, you could actually tell them, hey, on this date, no more spam calls unless it's like actually registered or something. Just trying to run on something that would actually improve somebody's day, that, because I can't come up and say, like, you're going to fix housing. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm going to afford it. I don't know if that includes me. Like, most people, when they say what generation they're in, they don't actually know what age range or
Yeah, but I think one
idea.
issue is because we become so detached from each other.
Mm.
Like if you had somebody who wanted like a $10 an hour minimum wage and somebody who
Right.
wanted a 20 an hour minimum wage, having these people fight with each other, it might seem like they're both radical to each other, but if you separate them, the guy at $10 an hour is going to be in a group where there are going to be people arguing for no minimum wage, and the guy at 20 an hour is going to be arguing for a living wage for anybody who looks at a job.
Yeah.
So like you get these people that are so far apart from each other because they're not communicating.
also dictating where they live and stuff too, their whole
Yeah.
entire situation.
But then it's hard because like we can sit here and talk about like, oh, what would transparency look like for better social media environments? Well, right now half the country is willing to accept Donald Trump having cryptocurrencies
Yes.
under his family name that are literally, this is the definition of like untraceable money, and he's having dinners where people who are the top dollar donor, it sounds like a fucking Twitch stream, right? The biggest subber of the month is allowed to come and have a conversation with him.
But like, if you ask them, like, how does this entire cryptocurrency scam work? Like, most of them don't know. They just know it's okay because Donald Trump's doing it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. So that's- so
it's
how do
the
we even
kinda
push for those
cult
things?
undertone there.
Yeah.
Let me see.
All right, final point there, Eugene.
I just appreciate the conversation really quick. I hope people take this as like an actual good faith conversation of how to improve things. Some of the stuff will work, some of it won't. Other people have ideas. If anybody has any ideas or anything, I'll be in the back. And I'm trying to start up something called Monetize Talking, which is a ridiculous way of saying running a podcast network. But the general consensus is like how to break through to the other side, but also do it in an authentic way where they trust it enough to go like, well, I don't believe what he says, but he hasn't shown me wrong yet. Because like I would say a lot of the stuff on our side is the hyperbolicness, as opposed to this is the exact thing that was said. And like you don't necessarily do that, but you hear other people on Twitter, this is what happened, this is what I saw, and it just kind of goes back and forth, and it disrupts the trust that could have happened to people that are snapped out of the cult. And the other part is, if you are in the cult, like, go find other people that left, so you have an actual place to go. There's definitely people that are like, oh, I don't like this. I wanted the Epstein stuff. But also, if I start telling people this, I'm going to lose my job, my family, my kids. No one's going to talk to me. I'm going to get run out of town. So I'm going to shut the fuck up and just nod. So
Yeah. I mean, I think having a more cohesive media environment and more cohesive reality, I think would get in that direction. But that's
Yeah.
a huge monumental task.
yeah, exactly. I appreciate it.
All right, put your hands together for Eugene. Thank you so much. Awesome stuff, man. Okay, quick roll call for debaters that may or may not have arrived late here. Baron's here. Okay, great. We got Baron. David, you bought a debate ticket? David? No David. The person who wanted to be called UBI, are you here? You're here? Okay, fantastic. We got UBI. Simon Park, are you here? No Simon Park? All right. And we already had Brandon Lee. Did we already have Brandon Lee? Brandon Lee back there? Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll get to you. Okay, awesome. And Eric Melkor. Eric? Oh, that's you? Okay, All right. Well, that's you. Let's go with Eric Melkor next. Come on up, Eric. Come on down. He needs a long applause. He's got a long way to walk here. Keep it going for Eric. Oh, yeah.
Hey, what's up?
All right, so I'm going to take this conversation on a whole different direction
Okay.
From what you've been talking so far. How seriously do you view the threat of automation, and what's the time span for that?
I would say not seriously at all, just because I'm not well enough versed on it to know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that there's like a retort, like the claim is that AI is going to threaten a lot of jobs. Automation is going to threaten jobs that can't be replaced. The retort is that this is the lump of labor fallacy. We always find more work to do. And then the counter retort is that AI or general intelligence represents a type of like intellectual work or creative work or automated work that is actually going to be new compared to anything that's happened before. And then the counter is like, yeah, so that's where I'm at. So I don't know I don't know enough facts to go into, yeah.
Right, so the response to automation is that there will be new work.
Yeah.
Right. I think that ultimately the net loss of jobs will be greater than the jobs that are created. I think we have what you can call corporate capitalism, right? We've depended on corporations for jobs, right? That's literally every single one of us like depends on a corporation, unless you're a small business owner, which, right? But I think that I would take the automation threat a bit more seriously because I would mention three major industries that might be affected, and these are three industries that hire a lot of people worldwide. It would be trucking, call center workers, and computer programmers.
Okay, trucking, what was the second one?
Call center workers.
Call center, oh, okay.
Call center workers and computer programmers. What are your thoughts on those being automated?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard these before. I think I've even mentioned, the trucker thing is supposedly really scary in the United States. There's a huge amount of, I don't think it's the number one industry, but it might be. But it employs a ton of people,
Right.
and the threat of automated cars is supposedly really scary there, but thankfully Elon is pushing that back every year, so hopefully we never
Right.
get
We have Waymos already here in LA, right? And
Sure.
in San Francisco, right?
They're not trucking though, but no, I know what you mean, yeah.
Right. So again, the trucking employs millions of Americans, mostly Republicans, mostly living in red states, right? Not college educated, high school diploma kind of thing. I think this is a bigger threat than people seem to realize. I think that when it comes to the trucking industry, not only do the truckers lose the job, but also the diners, the restaurants, the truck stops. I also think that the vision that Democrats are putting forth to address that is non-existent, right? Meaning that no candidate thus far has even remotely addressed this fact, right? That automation is a threat.
I feel like the situation is like right now so dire presently in terms of stuff being talked about and stuff that people care about. I think it's hard to even be forward facing. We on the conservative side, like they say that every single problem was literally existential, and then on the Democratic side, it's starting to feel like every single problem, to some extent, or at least a lot of them, are existential. So when you're in that like fight or flight mindset, it's hard to kind of like plan for the future, I guess.
Right. So it's like the scarcity mindset, right? It's
A little bit, yeah.
Right. So
I think there's like a broader way to talk about it, but nobody ever really addressed the conversation. But it has to do with like how do you address workers that are left behind when your GDP is growing? It's like
Right.
a broad way of saying it. Yes.
Well, that's the whole point of automation, is that we will be as productive as ever, even more so, because robots can do better jobs
Yeah.
than humans, right?
But I feel like that assumption that we would live in this kind of like post-scarcity world, for some reason, I'm sure most economists probably account for this. I'm just saying, generally speaking, it feels like people don't account for the fact that consumer demand seems to be infinite. Like the appetite for a consumer for more stuff is like always growing. So insofar as if there are 100 people that are sitting around that can have, everything provided by robots, somebody's going to want something that one of those 99 other people can provide, and then that's, for some reason, that's always rolled forward that way. Now, the claim always is that AI or something is going to represent a unique displacement of workers that, won't be able to be compensated with just increased demand or, lump of labor stuff. But I mean, that has yet to happen, and I guess we'll see. If it does, then damn.
I just view a failure on both Democrats and Republicans in terms of like offering a hopeful message for the future. And as my name implied, the UBI thing, there's only one candidate so far that has even remotely touched on this, and it's Andrew Yang, right? I'm pretty sure most of you guys know. People view him as a sort of this kind of weird kind of, I don't know, I don't even know how people characterize him at this point, right? But he was the only one to offer like a pretty solid plan, right? So one of the things that he had was a universal basic income, which was $1,000 a month that every U.S. citizen over the age of 18 would qualify. I would argue that this policy is much better than what Kamala had to offer during her presidential run. And as well as he had a vision to fix the tax system in America, which you've touched on this before, because I do watch your videos. He proposed a value-added tax system. And I think there's many different versions of a value-added tax system, but I believe the best version is the UK's version, in which it's a 20% tax on all luxury items, non-essentials, right? There's I believe a 3 or 6% tax on semi-essentials. Think diapers, children's clothing, things of that nature. And then there's essentials are not taxed at all, meaning groceries like milk, eggs, rice, beans, fruits, and vegetables, right? I would also mention that the UK has a sugar tax, right? Because do you really want more people to succumb to diabetes and other diseases that would put a pressure on their healthcare system, right? So
I don't necessarily think that, I can't say that this would be a bad tax structure for a kind of like quasi-post-scarcity future, but the only issue is right now we're designing kind of like the perfect tax or societal fiscal structure for a reality that we're not quite at yet. So I think it's hard to, I
think the value-added tax system offers a lot of strengths even now, if it were to apply.
I'm not going to disagree on that. It'll never happen because Americans, well, actually, I guess that's not true. It would only happen if Trump did it, because apparently that's the only way conservatives will accept new taxes. But I think most economists, I think everybody is generally in favor of a type of value-added tax because it gives the federal government the ability to have a federal sales tax. I would never. I don't think I would oppose it. I would support that, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately, in the U.S.
Well, I think all of these conversations that I've heard so far, I mean, that you have, and I really applaud you for what you do, right? To put yourself out there and talking to the right. I just think it's just so divisive. It doesn't really offer a unifying message. There's a vision of a universal basic income that has to do with kind of reeling it all back in and offering an actual vision to actually fixing this country's problems. So when it comes to UBI, right, it's if you pair it with a value-added tax, right? If you give $1,000 a month to a single mom or a family or someone that's just struggling to survive, they're gonna get the $1,000 a month. It's gonna subsidize their wage. If they use that money to buy the groceries that they have to buy these things, right? They have to buy their everyday staples, right? Well, those things won't be taxed at all. So you're basically giving these people the most help you can give them, right? Once they run out of $1,000 a month, then they still have to be productive members of society, and they still have to find a job to cover for whatever else they have as expenses. So in terms of progressiveness, I think this is the most progressive tax system you can have. Also, a value-added tax, and I've heard you talk about a wealth tax and how inefficient it is. I think a value-added tax is way better at taxing rich people, right? Because it targets their consumption, right? So when it comes to a VAT, a uniform VAT of 10%, right? A 10% VAT on, let's say, your TV breaks. You got to buy a new HDTV, $500. All right. How much is the 10% VAT on that? Well, it's $50. All right, so you're going to spend $550 now, right? But as you go into the higher levels of society, what's a 10% tax on a $20,000 Rolex watch, or a $100,000 sports car, or $1 million yacht, right? So you're going to target rich people's consumption choices, so that you have a better system than and again.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I feel like we're designing optimal tax strategies for a country that's absolutely not, we can't even agree on progressive income taxes in terms of like higher taxes for wealthy people. We just had these whole Trump tax cuts that are absolutely obliterating our budget that have now been solidified after the one big beautiful bill. So the idea of trying to talk about like a progressive value-added tax structure. I think like there's just like these are interesting conversations, but it's like a land value tax that all the Georgian people like to talk about too. Like it just feels like we're so far away from even having we don't even agree on what the problems are when it comes to taxes in the U.S.
I mean, one of the reasons why I put myself out here like this too too is because I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people about this, Republicans included. I drive for, I'm an Uber driver here in SoCal, so that means I end up in Orange County, right? And I've talked to Republicans about this. And I am able to have the most productive, healthy conversations with them if I stick to just this topic. And a value-added tax is actually pretty popular amongst them, right? It's pretty straightforward, right? You're taxing luxury, you're taxing people's consumption. Yang also proposed that if you're gonna raise this 10% value-added tax, you're also gonna lower the federal income taxes by a similar percentage. You're not gonna put in an extra
Like
tax
revenue
on
generating
people,
thing
right?
without also giving some kind of alleviation, right?
Right,
Yeah.
you're alleviating it from the income tax system and then just having this luxury tax system, right? So what better way than to tax your people? First of all, why are you taxing people based off of their labor? Like, don't you want more of that, right? Like it's the income tax system is one of the most unfair tax systems in the world. I used to work at a UPS warehouse where people are working back-breaking labor, like during COVID, like working 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And then they go home and then they get their paycheck and it's like 30% tax. Like that's super unfair. I believe that's one of the reasons why Trump won. Trump won this time around because he won over the middle class, right? He won over the middle class because the argument that you'll hear a lot is, oh, it's not fair that I'm getting taxed more and I'm working my ass off. And then my money is going to someone that doesn't work as hard as I do, right? So to me, and I kind of agree with that, again, because I worked at this very hard, back-breaking job, and I saw this, right?
I mean, like, I understand what you're saying. As somebody that is rich and somebody that was poor, something I say a lot is I hate the middle class. I've always hated the middle class.
Right.
The idea that somebody in the middle class doesn't want to pay more in taxes because they don't want their money going to like a working class person. I feel like one thing that I wish would happen in the United States is I feel like we like radically need to change the way that we approach talking about taxes. Like conservatives talk about them like they have to be avoided at all costs. And when I hear people on the left talk about them, they talk about them like a punishment, right? But like, you know, something I've said, like I get to sit in front of a computer or in front of an audience and, you know, I get to fly around in airplanes, I get to do all this stuff. It would only work that way if there were a whole group of people that were also willing to do other types of work that I personally don't want to have to do. And the idea that, like for me to exist at like the incredibly heightened experience I get to have in this country means that I have to pay some chunk of my income so that other people can live, you know, outside of destitute poverty, like that shouldn't even be like a regret. That should be like a celebrated thing. And even if people don't like even if people don't intellectually understand it, intuitively they do, because, you know, if somebody was making some amount of money online, you could just tell them, hey, there's like a whole bunch of crazy countries that you could move to and live in the wilderness and you'd be so fucking rich. And they'd be like, well, I don't want to fucking live there, right? Well, of course you don't. But part of the reason why you don't want to live there is because you don't have like a whole society that is like moving everybody forward from top to bottom. Yeah.
So
All right, you get the last word there, Mr. UBI.
okay, so I'm gonna try to cover this as fast as I can because this is there's so much ground to cover when it comes to universal basic income.
Okay.
I think the vision that a UBI can do for us is to also offer a way to adapt to a changing economy. I mentioned that trucker, if he loses his job, he's not going to live in an expensive city like LA or San Francisco or New York, right? $1,000 a month there isn't really going to do much for that trucker, right? We're paying $2,000 a month in rent here in LA, right? But if most likely that trucker is going to live in a small town, he loses his job tomorrow. He receives $1,000 a month, right? That money can help that individual and his small town to basically invest in their economy so that you can see a resurgence of small businesses and self-employment endeavors, right? So again, the vision of a UBI, that what it can do for us, it's very complex. There's a lot of ground to cover. There's so much in terms of how you could even call it a left-leaning libertarian idea in which instead of the wastefulness that government can do, I mean, we've already seen it in terms of the homeless industrial complex that's happening here in California. Tens of billions of dollars have been spent on trying to tackle homelessness. Has anyone seen an improvement? No, because it's there's so much wastefulness and inefficiencies of government, right? Whereas a UBI it's a left-leaning libertarian idea because you're reducing government bloat and waste, right? And instead you're putting that money straight into people's pockets. You're going to save money in the long run on many different levels. Again, there's so much ground to cover. I can talk about healthcare. I can talk about the prison system. I can talk about like how this offers a better vision for America, going down in terms of jobs and automation and all that. but I do, it really kind of, seeing these kind of conversations happening where neither, like, you guys are just arguing, like, it's just two sides arguing on some of the dumbest fucking positions ever, and no one is really actually thinking critically to move forward, to move this country forward. It kind of makes me sad, because it's like, what the fuck are we doing, guys, right? And like I said,
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, like, you also, you kind of have to meet people where they are. Like, the UBI argument can be the best argument in the world, but if I show the right group of conservatives a picture of a bunch of brown and black people getting it, they're going to be immediately opposed, and they're going to call them all lazy. It's like, okay, well, I guess we're
that's the beauty about the
yeah.
universality of it, right? But Yang also had a really good, he actually had traction with Republicans during that 2020 election cycle, right? So he was able to offer a vision that Democrats didn't offer, right? So again, this is, we're all just kind of like just going in circles with some of the dumbest things I've ever heard, and it's all brain rot kind of topics, right? And I get it. It's amazing. It's really cool to have you on the left side to like defend a lot of these positions, but I still think it's not enough. It's still not enough, and Democrats have failed us. Just as much as the Republican, I mean, I'm not even gonna fucking mention Republicans, but Democrats are failing us, and I'm trying to learn from those failures, and I'm trying to like offer a different alternative vision. To
All
them.
right.
So-
Thank you, Mr. UBI. Rock and roll. You had a good run. All right, we're going into our next debater right away. Oh, just a quick reminder. Stephen will be signing posters. You can get a free poster after and a picture with Stephen once we are done with our debaters tonight. So don't go away once we conclude. Callie Chan, you're up next. Put your hands together for Callie Chan. She's coming straight from the back of the house. So keep that round of applause going. Stretch those arms, clap them together. Callie Chan, here she comes. Rock and roll. Woohoo!
I just want to preface that I am definitely not a political whiz here.
That's fine.
And-
Speak right in the mic, and then you're good. You can do
All
whatever
right.
you want to be. Okay.
And not only that, I unfortunately work in defense, so I'm very conflicted about what's going on right now, and don't want to be doxxed, so here we go.
Okay.
All right, so if facts matter, how do we wake people up who've been emotionally checked out of politics? I noticed that a lot of people, especially in California, they act like they're above politics. They want to play kumbaya, saying both sides, whatever, like both sides are wrong, you know, or they don't have the emotional energy to give a shit anymore. And they don't want to be that draining moral superiority, like virtue signaling downer. And do you think political apathy is a form of privilege or burnout?
I need a better answer for this. I feel like one of the issues that we have, you asked, is political apathy a privilege or burnout? I mean, it can be either or. I mean, it really depends on what issue we're talking about, and it depends on, you know, it depends on what we're talking about, right? So like all of us, well, most of us are politically privileged to not really care. I'm being a bit facetious about what goes on like between Ukraine, Russia, or Israel, Palestine, because these are foreign conflicts, so they don't affect us here. Some people in the U.S. have the privilege not to care about, you know, like women's rights or stuff related to SNAP or WIC or, you know, welfare programs or stuff related to taxes. Like it really depends. Like to some extent, like a lot of us are privileged in some ways. We don't really have to care. Other people are, you know, are really bought into it because it literally affects them or their communities. I think that on the left, I feel like one of the issues, it kind of came up earlier when the guy was up here, is it doesn't feel like we have like a coherent political project to fight for, whereas on the right, they always have like, there's like a new enemy or a new deep state or a new, you know, thing from the future or the past or whatever. They always have like a thing that they're always like ends with, you know, a new trans bus driver or whatever. There's always like an enemy that they can be upset about. And that type of anger seems to sustain people for a long time. It seems to keep people going in a direction for a long time. I'm not saying we necessarily need to do that, but I do think that the left as a whole, please God, excuse me, the Democratic establishment as a whole needs to kind of have a more coherent like war game plan to put forth to the people so that they feel like they're invested or involved in something. I think people like to see, to some extent, like the fruits of their labor. and when you don't have anything that you're ever fighting for, it's hard to keep track of anything. Like I said, like I was excited when Gavin Newsom talked about the redistricting. That's like a real thing that there's going to be a real vote on, and it's going to have a real impact on the districting in California. And I think that's awesome. It's the thing you can see, well, at least on a map. I think it might have been Steve Bannon that said this, or somebody else. I kind of believe this. I think that maybe we need to like build stuff that's like big and noticeable again, like bridges or not trains, because these take fucking forever apparently for you guys. But anything that like you can build and see, I think people like that. As gaudy and disgusting as it is, like, you know, conservatives look at all the Trump gold and everything in the Oval Office, and they're like, oh, it's awesome. Or like the whatever the Trump grandma patio that he has like out and back where the Rose Garden used to be, like stuff that you can like visually see, you know, I think is nice for people. But yeah, I think to go back, you're asking like it's a very like it's a very involved question, like what gives people the drive to be involved in politics and to move something forward. And I think it's feeling like you're part of like a political project that has some kind of forward momentum, that's making some kind of difference, it's actually doing something. Yeah, but like how you do that, there's like so many different factors at play. Like I can talk about this forever. But like Obama was like an inspiring person. People liked him. They liked the way he spoke. You felt cool when he got elected. It was like, oh, cool, this is awesome. You know, it's a fun thing. People, I think I would say like Gavin Newsom making fun of Trump on Twitter, that's a highlight of my life, is seeing new tweets from him or his press office or whatever. Like, it's just fun. It's something to be like culturally involved in. And then, you know, having media that you can watch that's like fun or exciting. Like growing up as a conservative, you know, like listening to Michael Savage roasting the commies was, you know, really fun. And all of the entertainment and excitement, I can listen to Alex Jones. I got all these lunatics. I'm not saying we need to be that bad, but yeah, there has to be like I'm reiterating myself for the third time. There has to be like a comprehensive project that everybody is working on that always has some kind of forward momentum. But that's like a thing that involves a lot of moving pieces. Yeah. Great.
You know, I like that you say that, because there are a lot of things that I thought, okay, this is the point where we're gonna actually start caring, like Roe versus Wade, or all the, you know, different rights getting rolled back. But like people are on to the next thing. People are on to the next like talking point. People are on to the next show. The more distractions there are, the less we care. So like, I think just an overwhelm of different things to care about, and people are starting to get burnt out.
I think that one of the issues is when we find a topic to care about, we don't have like a clear path to success. And I think that leads to people getting discouraged really quickly. Again, I'm not saying we should go in this direction, but if you look at like the trend of literally everything today, it's like gamification to give you these like little steady rewards as you build towards something. Well, if somebody tells you, okay, well, Roe v. Wade is gone, well, what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna try to win an election so that the next president hopefully gets to install one more Supreme Court justice, so that maybe there is like a groundbreaking case that's brought through the courts, and maybe with like a 5-4 conservative court, we might be able to get a favorable ruling that maybe will bring about, like, Jesus, like how, but like, what the fuck, who cares? We don't even know we'll have a Supreme Court by then, right? Like, it's just fucking, it's like so far out. Meanwhile, you know, like Trump is promising to bomb countries tomorrow, right? Like that sounds like a way more exciting project. Like I want to be the guy that's watching Greenland explode rather than the guy who's like looking forward to the, you know, another Supreme Court justice 27 years from now. Now, like I think, like I'll credit Biden with being politically effective because he did get stuff done, but it didn't feel like it. You didn't have that feeling. And, you know, I joked about this initially as I would like to consider myself somewhat politically mature, that, you know, I would joke with Dan and say, oh, well, it's nice that it's kind of boring now under Biden because we have like a real country with a real guy who's really doing things. But I think a lot of people like kind of the excitement, and they like to see like the cool stuff, and the Republicans are just so far ahead of us on that. You know?
I mean, yeah, that's why they voted for a person who was good with TV rather than actual politics. So.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Yeah. All right, on to the next questions. How do you de-radicalize someone who's deep in the MAGA pipeline without sounding condescending at this point?
I don't think there is no like, you can't like de-radicalize people, I think, in like any kind of short guide. It's kind of funny, I think I've drawn this comparison before, but like a really good example, or two good examples I think are, these are issues that have been dealt with forever, is you have people who are addicted to drugs, or who might be like kind of crazy, like experiencing psychotic mental illness, or people who are lost in like abusive relationships. These are issues that have happened for a long time. Psychologists, therapists, everybody's like studied, and you know, as far as I'm aware, there's not really much you can do for these people except kind of be there for them. Like if you know somebody who's addicted to drugs, you know somebody who's stuck in an abusive relationship, if you try to coach them out of it at all, they immediately paint you as an enemy, they get deeper into the other thing, they stop communicating with you, and now you've lost all contact. But it's hard to be friendly with them because you don't want to be like encouraging of like bad habits, but it feels weird not to say something. The problem is once somebody's an adult, they truly are left to make their own choices. I would say that if you have a friend in your life and you feel like they're, down a certain rabbit hole, you talk to them as much as you can, but it's going to be kind of obvious if you're trying to argue them out of a particular point. Like they're going to pick up on that. It's not like you can go here as like a therapist and try to talk a friend down from something. So also keep in mind too, like don't feel bad. Like you're up against an impossible machine. I think I made this joke on stream a lot, and like I've had multiple friends that I've lost who it starts with the innocent, like, so I saw this guy on Candace Owens and he was making a lot of sense, and I'm like, fuck, like in 6 months this person's gonna be fucking crazy. And it's happened like 3 times. And nothing that I say or do, no amount of argument or no amount of like logical refutation matters, because by the time I've spent 1 week going over with some fucking guy who believes in the ether, they've got like 6 other shows that they're ready to give me. I was like, okay, well, like something is clicking in your brain here that I can't communicate with and I can't do anything about. So yeah, it's what I said for the first thing. It's like this whole interconnected, moving, puzzle that there's a lot of different pieces that have to be working to make things work better. Yeah.
All right, you get the last word there, Callie.
Okay. Let's see. Alrighty, one more thing.
May I ask, is there anything Trump related that you disagree with Stephen on?
Okay, does obsessing over Trump keep him culturally immortal?
This is a really hard one. There's a really hard line to walk between like obsessing over Trump versus normalizing Trump. One thing that I found, especially with my own political enemies, whose heads I occupy 24/7, rent-free, is the easiest way they can kind of like brush off criticism of them is to call other people obsessed. So, if I talk negatively about a particular thing and they don't want to deal with the criticism, they say, oh, that guy's obsessed with me, and then you're done with it. MAGA like formalized this with the whole Trump derangement syndrome. Like, oh, don't you think it's kind of crazy when Trump does this? And it's like, I think it's kind of crazy how fucking TDS you are. And it's like, okay, well, fuck me, I guess. So like, I think the important thing is to keep the criticisms like measured. Like when Trump does a really bad thing, I think you have to call it out. There should be people calling it out, but like not every single stupid thing, obviously. So making sure the criticism is accurate, making sure it's measured, the magnitude, your response is appropriate. Yeah, and maybe not calling out necessarily every single little thing, but like we're in an era now where like every other day there's like shit happening that is just unbelievably insane to me. And to not have anybody calling it out, yeah, is not good. And when you've been like so recessed on it for so long, to start to step up and call it out, people are going to see that tonal shift and they're like, oh my God, you became deranged. What happened? It's like, well, no, I just fucking started opening my mouth on this. Yeah. So there has to be some balance there. Yeah.
All right, everyone, give it up for Callie. She had a really good run here. Rock and roll. All right. Well, I think this next debater is going to bring the heat. Put your hands together for Barron. Barron, let's go. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
Nice to meet you.
So I think that for the past 10 years, I would say the Democratic Party has done a terrible job at messaging. I think the Republicans have done a much better job, probably ever since Obama has left office.
Speaking of that, yeah.
And
you
I would
pulled down a
also
little bit
say,
into it.
sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I would also say that since then, one of the examples of such is probably immigration in the United States. I think that's been a big issue for many people, for many voters for a very long time now. And I think the Democrats really dropped the ball and they ignored that. While Trump, his execution has been very poor, at least he's speaking to what people have been voting for.
I think that when we talk about poor Democratic messaging, I think one of the big problems is Republicans started to play the game of politics a little bit differently in ways that I would argue are immoral, and Democrats haven't kept up on either regulating the environment or playing equally back. I think it's really difficult to contend with I trigger people when I say this, but to contend with certain problems that are, in my opinion, somewhat fictitious or sometimes largely fictitious, like to figure out what the appropriate response to that is can be very challenging. I do not believe, for instance, that the majority of conservatives in the United States have had all of these horrible experiences with like trans rapists in bathrooms, but for some reason trans people still dominate so much of our conversation. When it comes to immigration in particular, I think it's challenging because the actual answers they're really complicated. what, like, for instance, what does our immigration system even need to look like? That's something that nobody even talks about, and I seriously doubt we could even come together and agree on what that means. What does it mean to say we have certain immigration problems, right? When there's a Democrat in office, apparently there's like a new fucking caravan like every 2 days at our border that's about to destroy the country. But then as soon as Trump is in office, I'm not hearing anybody complain about what was supposedly like the #1 issue in the U.S. And every time Trump talks about it, there were still like apparently 25 million illegals that got in. Like, I don't know if they all just got bored and stopped destroying the country, or they ran out of dogs to eat, or yeah. So it's hard. Like, if somebody throws up a problem like that, and you don't even know how to deal with it because it doesn't even seem to be like as real as they're making it out to be, and then they run on that and they don't really do much to deal with it, but then everybody feels like they get credit for solving it. Like, yeah, that's a difficult thing. I do agree that Democrats definitely need to message better on it, but yeah, man, it's a hard one. Like, where do you even start on that? Yeah.
Well, right. So I would say it's a failure of leadership if we all recognize that we are playing the same game, yet the two sides are using different rules to play that game, right?
Just nice and close to the mic. Thank you.
sorry.
You can go right on that thing.
So we don't have, people on the left don't have the luxury to be disingenuous with their positions as Republicans do. We all know that, yet they're not putting that forth and deciding on how to best utilize that. So I would say not only are Republicans better at taking their messaging and making it more digestible, breaking it down to 2 or 3 sentences that are really easy to connect with people, they're also better at follow through, or I would say not necessarily they're better at follow through, the Democrats are worse at follow through because we hold our leaders accountable, while they're able to, again, misinform their voter base and people will just eat it up. And when we talk about where we can agree on what immigration should look like, I would say, as far as I'm concerned, I would say immigration is great and we should allow as many immigrants as possible as long as it still provides a net positive benefit to the United States. And I think most people would agree with that.
I don't, unfortunately. Okay. I think I would largely agree with that, depending on some things around the edges. But so, like, for instance, one thing I noticed when I listened to conservatives talk about immigration is, like, one of the biggest kind of things that you can listen for when you can tell somebody has particular views on immigration is people are very quick to talk about immigrants, illegal immigrants, and asylum seekers all interchangeably. They use all of these interchangeably. MAGA does this all the time. And sometimes through these conversations, we want to have, like, a discussion on, what kind of class of immigrants should we let in? Does temporary protected status, should the executive be able to do this? What do you do with DACA? But sometimes it's better to just go back. I think Adam Mockler, just eviscerated Knowles on this. When I think he asked him a question about, like, asylum seekers. If you ask Republicans, do you think people should be able to seek asylum in the United States? I think a lot of them would have a difficult time even saying yes to that. So when we realize, like, how far back we are in the conversation, like, okay, hold on, you don't even think that people should be able to do this. Then it's like, do you think that people should be able to immigrate to the United States if they're willing to work? And it's like, what if it was like 500,000 Mexicans? It's like, oh, well, I don't know. And so it's like, one thing so then you have to take another step back. It's like, okay, what do you actually care about when it comes to immigration? Like, do you want there to be any immigration? Because you can catch people, like, so easily. Like, I had one guy saying, like, well, I just don't like the demographic change from, people of color because they vote a different way. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, do you think that European immigrants are voting fucking conservative in the United States? And they're like, well, no, I guess not. And I was like, okay, so this is clearly not an issue, right? So part of the trouble, I think, of even having the conversation, I think to some extent does speak to a Democratic failure in having a strong position. Again, it wasn't until Biden kind of got pushed really hard by conservatives to really come to the border to make, like, kind of, an idea about it. And then it was Lankford's Republican-authored immigration bill that was eventually kind of pushed before Congress to be voted on. And then it was the Republicans that ended up shooting it down. And so, like, the Republicans, like, have the chain the entire time, and they're, like, leading us around in terms of, like, how we talk about it. So sorry, that sounds really hopeless. I agree that there's kind of been a failure in Democratic messaging, but I think that, man, a lot of my answers are unsatisfying. The Republicans have just fucked up so much shit that it's hard to even understand how to exist in the environment. Like, let's say that, like, if we're both running for student president, and, in the last election cycle, one guy was like, I'm going to make it so they can't assign more than 3 hours of homework a night. And you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to make it so we don't start school until 8:30 instead of 8:15. And then in the next election cycle, one guy is like, I'm going to give all of you $10,000. Like, geez, I don't know what to say to this guy. And then he wins the election and he doesn't do it, but people still vote for him anyway. It's like, well, fuck me, I guess, right? So I don't know how Democrats are supposed to exist in an environment where, I mean, I bring this up all the time. No one knows, cares, whatever about it. The Dominion stuff with Fox News is insane. That should have ended that entire news network, and every person involved, I think, should have been criminally indicted. At the very least, should have all suffered huge civil liability, and that network should be gone. But like it's continued on as the largest news network ever. So like from a conservative viewpoint, they should continue to lie and do what they were doing because they're constantly rewarded for it.
So how much do you blame Democrats for that then? Let's talk about the asylum seekers first. The issue with asylum seekers is, of course, how Democrats really dropped the ball as far as letting asylum seekers come here legally, seeking asylum, and then staying here, extending their stay, without ever getting any type of, catch and release, not seeking judges. I understand there's a backlog in judges and stuff like that, but if you just have no system in which you're tracking anybody anymore, again, that's a failure in leadership in that aspect. And I also think when it comes to the Langford bill that you talked about, I don't think you're a serious person if you bring, not you personally.
I can be
I'm talking
honest.
about the politicians. They're not serious about it when they bring this to the forefront during the election year. You already lost the House. You're now playing from behind. You're not serious about this if you didn't bring this to anyone's attention the first 2 years when you had all 3 houses.
Yeah, but I think the issue is, like the first issue I think has to do with one of, like how are we approaching failures in leadership here? So like catch and release is a difficult one because people assume that the law is like you catch an MS-13 member and then you release him into a friendly white Christian neighborhood so that he can wreak havoc and cause terror or whatever. When the reality is first of all, there were a large number of people that just didn't immigrate illegally or legally during COVID because it was people were sick. It was fucked. Like everybody knew people were sick, right? And it was scary and people were dying and especially in the first wave and kind of in Delta, like it was a really bad flu. It really sucked. After that alleviated, there was a huge wave of people that wanted to come in a variety of ways, and then this asylum loophole kind of got discovered, and then everybody realized what would happen is ordinarily if you would come to the United States, you want to claim asylum, your case is adjudicated basically instantly, and if you're good, you can stay as an asylum under some temporary protected status, or you get kicked out. So you're not going to abuse that, because if you come in and they kick you out, it's like, oh, well, fuck me. But once there was a backlog created, and they have to issue you a slip, right, so catch and release, they issue you, come back for your court date. Once that started to grow, and all these other people were trying to come in after COVID, it was like, oh shit, this is an exploitable system. And I think that started to take off heavily a year or two after the COVID stuff. Now, Trump got to use like Title 42 and everything to shut down the border completely. I think Biden and them, I think, tried to bring it back for a while, but I don't think the courts let them. And then it's just a problem that like continued to grow, but there were like other things happening too. Like was there room for a conversation about immigration when the Russia-Ukraine war was breaking out, when Israel, Gaza was fucking genociding, nuking each other, and it's like, okay, fuck. And then now you're like at the end of the election cycle, it's like, oh, also the illegal immigrants. Like, okay, well, fuck, well, here's a bill. And the Republicans like, well, actually, we don't want it. It's like, okay, well, is this even a real problem then? Like, what the fuck? Yeah. So all that to say, I'm sorry, I started this off with like what's actually happening. I think that it would be fair if conservatives would say, and I think it would be even fair to punish Democrats electorally if it's like, this is a failure in leadership, like, you know, you're the United States of America, you can handle multiple problems at once, you should have done something about this earlier. But when the talking point on the right is he intentionally, Biden himself, walked down with his fucking Dairy Queen vanilla ice cream cone and opened the gates to let all the illegal immigrants in, and they wanted to do this and they wanted to destroy America, geez, how do you even start the conversation there? I think it's just a crazy difficult place to start, yeah.
Well, I think also, like, then what's the suggestion as far as getting the messaging better? Because I think if you ask the average American, what is the left stance on immigration, they would say open borders. What's the right? They're against illegal immigration. Like, I feel like those are both factually incorrect. But there's no space for nuance when it comes to your average voter. So how would you make the messaging better reflect what the politicians are actually advocating for?
Military-industrial complex needs to come back. Deep state needs to come back, and Soros needs to come back and buy X. Okay, we need to. I mean, what we have to do is something has to change about the media environment where conservatives can say anything and like lead Democrats around on a leash on everything.
Okay.
That I don't like that. Again, I said this so much tonight. Like that's just a multifaceted. It's a huge problem that has to change because like I'm sorry, and I know it sounds mean, but like if you're in Pennsylvania, you know, Michigan, like. There's no way that like illegal immigration is the #1 fucking problem that you're facing. But like a lot of these people feel that way, and it's like, well, why do they feel that way, right? And you know, they'll insist. Well, I've had people tell me like that's not true. I drive by and I see illegal immigrants all the time. How the fuck do you know they're illegal? Like, but that sentence you just said is pointless, right?
Brown, yeah.
Yeah. But then it's like, how is it then if this is such a huge problem that the second Trump gets elected, it's not a problem anymore? What's happening? Did ICE make that many raids that they, you know, deported 25 million illegals or 5 million illegals or 1 million illegals? Like, where are they all going if I thought this was the biggest problem ever and now it seems like nobody talks about it? So then it's like, if it wasn't even that big of a problem, then how do you even address it in the first case when Republicans are telling you that it's like the biggest problem ever? Like, what are you even supposed to, like, I mean, I'm joking, but I was like, maybe Biden should just say, yesterday we deported 5 million illegals, and like that's the counter to it. And it's like, well, what are Republicans going to say? Like, it's not like they even had a tracking of the real number of people coming in. So it's like, yeah, it's the messaging apparatus has to change in the Democratic Party. There needs to be stronger leadership, more positive positions, not like good, but positive, like this is what we believe and this is our stance and this is what we're going to do to fix things. And then there has to be a better media environment where it can't just be that one side can lie with impunity on every fucking thing over and over and over and over again and nobody cares about it. Yeah.
Have you seen any recent stats as far as illegal crossings in the United States over the past 10 months?
My wonderful president keeps telling me it's basically 0, 0, 0, 0.
Well, yeah, okay, so we know it's not zero, but I mean, when we're comparing it to 2023 or 2024, we can probably both agree that it's drastically less, right?
It's probably less, yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
Okay. And have you crossed the border recently, perhaps? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay. I mean, I've done it, like I do it quite often. I would say this year been much easier than it ever has before. I'm not necessarily saying that's due to any like Trump's specific work. I'm sure it's meaningful. I think probably more so the last 10 months, the United States has just been a much less attractive place for anybody to come for any reason. So
one thing I kind of wonder too, and there's no way for me to like actually prove this, but like sometimes I wonder, because I know it's like, and nobody's polling these people, how much does like the conservative rhetoric play into, like if you look at the numbers, we always have more attempted illegal crossings under a Democrat president than we do under a Republican president, even when the policies are relatively unchanged. And sometimes I wonder, like, are there people in South America that hear Trump say the Democrats have open borders, and then when Biden gets elected, they're all like, oh, maybe we can just go up there then. Like, do you think, I wonder, does that encourage more people to come up or not? I have no idea, but yeah, it's very frustrating to me that like supposedly these are some of the biggest problems we have, but then as soon as they get their guy elected, now these problems seem to not matter anymore. That's just very frustrating because it's like, well, what the fuck? What was Biden ever supposed to do? Like if Trump can do nothing essentially, except I guess he has an EO like limiting numbers of crossings, although nobody's going to this country right now apparently. Like yeah, I don't know, just it's a frustrating environment to be in.
All right, last thoughts there, Baron?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my overall point would always be that I feel like people on the left, they just don't do a good job of picking and choosing exactly what they want their messaging to be, and the lack of follow through is just terrible, specifically on people for the left because you have a base that will hold you accountable for your lack of follow through, and we see so many factions within the left that we necessarily don't see in the right. I mean, we see a lot of infighting over there, but they all seem to coalesce against around one candidate. While, I mean, we can just take New York City's mayoral election, for example, or the previous 2016 Democratic primary, where we have plenty of options that I think most people will be great with, but you have the Bernie Bros situation, right? Where if it's not going to be Bernie Sanders, we're not going to vote at all. We have situations like that. I don't really see anything comparable to on the right, and if that's going to be the case, then the people that are running for the important positions on the left need to understand that, and they need to change their entire their platform or how they're choosing to run to ensure that they're bringing that in and amalgamating that within their platform.
Yeah, maybe. I will say, just as one final thing, because I hear this a lot, I heard the Majority Report saying this, some people will say this thing, they'll make these criticisms of the Democrats, like, the messaging is bad, they need to do a better job communicating this, but like, it's funny because I'll hear people, I just heard Emma and Sam complain about this on the Majority Report, like, the Democratic messaging is so bad, like, why can't they communicate this, this, and this? And it's like, motherfuckers, you're communicating this, this, and this. Do it. Communicate it then, right? Like, you never hear conservatives say, like, Trump was really bad at that explanation. These guys are tripping over themselves to explain exactly what Trump meant, no matter how much of an inconsistent jarble of random words it was. Like, they're here to ascribe. Fucking Mike Johnson, like, pulled out the FBI informant shit out of fucking thin air when it came to the Epstein stuff. So, like, it's just interesting because, like, for Republicans, like, they don't have, the politicians themselves don't even have to think that much about the messaging. Right. It's not like they're the ones doing, like, Ted Cruz and Rubio and Trump are amazing messengers. It's that the entire apparatus they're in are amazing messengers, because if anybody says it, then Tim Pool and Joe Rogan and Dr. Malone and all the cabinet members and all the Fox News hosts and everybody's going to be repeating the exact same thing. So, like, they get a lot of help. It's not just the politicians on the right, it's the whole apparatus there that's helping them do it.
Yeah, surely there's some like back-end infrastructure as far as top-down messaging that's just so much better when you have everybody that's important on their side parroting the same comment, while on ours, everyone's giving unique positions on the same thing that's confusing their voter race.
Sure, cool.
All right, thank you, Baron. Put your hands together for Baron. Thanks, buddy. Awesome stuff. All right, we got a few debaters left. Remaining debaters, don't be afraid to bring your strong disagreements with Stephen up here. He's not going to bite you too hard. So we got David in the house. David, where are you at? David, it's your turn, David. Yeah, thank you so much. Make sure you talk nice and close into the mic. Thank you.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. So my name is David. Actually, huge fan. Followed since StarCraft 2. I know, like, another DGG you're debating, but I'm actually I am a fan, but I'm more of like a radical centrist, to be honest. I think some of the yeah, right. I know, terrible. Hopefully I'm not as bad as P.F. Jung or something, but so I want to talk about offshoring because that's one of the things I think that Trump really taps into really well and is like an actual serious issue. Like all these economists, like David Otter, Daryl Okamoglu, like they've done a lot of research on this, and they found that offshoring in general does hurt the American worker. Like even after displacement, it seems like low-skilled workers always get bit no matter what, and high-skilled workers, there might be some benefit, but very small benefit. So aside from Trump's policies, his reaction to it, I'd argue, which is really awful, but I like that the conservative party is at least starting to talk about this. Like the mainstream conservative party, their response has been awful in my opinion, but some of the minor think tanks are starting to talk about this. I think some of their arguments are very interesting, like more so how to prevent this in the future. Because David Daughter, he talked about the China supply shock and how we basically lost 8 million jobs in 10 years. He doesn't think we could have prevented it completely, but we could have slowed it down with tariffs. And instead of everyone losing their jobs in 10 years, maybe in 20, 30 years, and that gives them time to still have their jobs, and then the next generation, and then retire, and then the next generation can work the new jobs that are hopefully created afterwards. So what do you think of offshoring in general? Is there any evidence you think that there's a reason to be against offshoring, or?
So I think when we talk about like exporting supply chains, we talk about offshoring certain types of jobs. Like it's a difficult conversation, but we need to have like an honest conversation about like what is the overall goal, I guess, of like economic policy in the United States. And I think sometimes we just all kind of like assume the answer to that, but other times like we're having disagreements that are showing like a fundamental disagreement on that. And I think some of those have started to kind of like come up over the recent, especially like the tariff stuff, right? So some people might say like, oh, we should have the strongest economy. And it's like, what about at the expense of an American worker? And it's like other people say, oh, well, we should do everything we can to help American workers. And it's like, oh, at the expense of our, XYZ industries. And it's like, oh, we should do everything to help, some industry. It's like, oh, at the expense of some of our, like for H-1Bs, right? So do we hurt our native-born, computer workers? One thing that's like very frustrating to me, and I think there's like a huge failure of the fucking Republicans, I'm gonna say. The one issue, have you heard the Obama quote of, have you heard that thing?
The guns and religion?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know like where it comes from?
Yeah, like he was talking, it wasn't even meant to go out as just to private donors, and then like the conservatives attacked him, like, oh.
Kind of, but the quote comes at the end of like a really good understanding
right,
of what's happening.
Right, he understood their struggles for sure.
Yeah, he's basically saying that like after years of NAFTA, administrations come and go, the Clintons, the Bushes, whatever. What's happening is there's a group of people in this country who feel left behind, who are being abandoned by a newer economy, and and I think, and Obama goes on to say, like, it's not surprising then that these people are racist, bigoted, or whatever, or that they cling to their gods and guns or whatever. He makes this quote, obviously, and the people take this and they go crazy with it. But like, it's funny because J.D. Vance in an early interview says it's a very true quote, and even he understands it really well, but now he pretends not to. But we have to have like a conversation about what it means to advance our economy without like ejecting portions of society. And that's a very complicated conversation to have for a few big reasons. So the first big reason is, so I'm not necessarily attacking the UBI suggestion that was made earlier, especially because he's not here to defend the idea. But when people talk about compensation for money, I used to say this, like, oh, we'll just pay them off, fuck it. The economy benefits, in general, tax the winners and distribute to the losers. But the reality is most people don't want that. Most people don't want to just sit in a society and get welfare because their jobs have been eliminated. Like, people take pride in their work. They take pride in the communities they're a part of. They like to see the things that they do. Yeah.
Right.
So I think offshoring is good for the economy as a whole. It's good for the consumer as a whole, and it benefits some groups of workers. workers, but there is that good is like spread throughout all of society, but the bad, the pain is like hyper-focused on certain worker communities and certain geographic regions. So there has to be some way that we can acknowledge that like the economy needs to advance. Like we have to continue to increase the productivity of our workers and our labor and everything else. We can't hold back the whole economy, or worse, go backwards to deal with some people because they participated in an older economy that now other countries are starting to catch up to. But we also can't just say like, oh, you know, like fuck that group of people. I hope they keep voting for us and we'll throw some money at them, you know, and keep them happy. But that's that conversation. I feel like that's an interesting conversation that the left and the right could have a fight on, but the right is just totally disengaged from all politics. We don't have it, but yeah, go ahead.
Right, I agree 100% with that. And the reason I think that most of the conversation is on manufacturing is because it just so happens that, well, maybe not just so happens, but the swing states that basically decide a presidential election, like that's a very important issue for them, was this China supply shock taking away so many of their jobs. Like, but it's not just manufacturing, it's also services. Like so many, like millions and millions of jobs like have been like offshored, like mostly call center stuff and simple clerical work. You could also argue a lot of it was also automation. But what worries me personally is like, what seems to stop companies from offshoring and automating is the initial capital costs. So like David Otter talks about this all the time, is like technology doesn't get here as fast as you would think, like because companies are mostly slow to adapt new technology or to offshore. But what worries me is COVID seems to have sped this up a lot. Like a lot of companies that would have never thought of spending money on catering to remote workers were forced to during COVID. So what worries me is like a lot of these companies are like, why are we paying these Americans to do like the same work that can be done in India or the Philippines or even Europeans? Like I think your co-host Dan Saltman says he loves like hiring like European coders because they're so cheap. Like, and it seems like we're neither side is really working on something like this, and we could be in for another China supply shop kind of thing where millions of these jobs are gone and it takes a long time for them to be replaced. Another thing David Otter said was the new jobs, there's never any retraining. Like there's very little support for retraining. Like
I think the issue, I think after NAFTA, I think what we discovered is retraining is like largely like a fictitious thing. Like you can't take somebody who's been doing something for 20, 30 years and just magically retrain them to like a similarly productive line of work, right? Which is challenging to deal with in and of itself.
Right, but there are other policies like Obama, like they were experimenting with wage insurance, where like if you lost your job in manufacturing, you're getting paid like $30 an hour. Your new job that only pays $20 an hour, we'll pay the difference for X amount of time. Like,
yeah, I understand that, but I feel like people don't. It just feels different. I don't think anybody, like if you had a guy who was trucking or working in a manufacturing plant getting paid $30 an hour, and now he gets $15 an hour, working at a restaurant, but the government is subsidizing the rest of his wage. I just don't think it feels the same. Like you don't have the same amount of like pride or engagement with your work.
Right, absolutely.
I do agree that, I hate saying I agree because this is like a conversation we're not even close to being able to have in this country because we have like fundamental disagreements on what the economy should even look like. But I do wish that that there would be kind of a richer debate on like who does the economy serve at the end of the day and what should our policy even be oriented towards? Like, are we infinitely in the pursuit of cheaper goods? Are we infinitely in the pursuit of higher productivity labor? Do we want to pump the brakes on some types of consumer enrichment to keep some manufacturing stuff alive? Are there some strategic investments we can make? Because when the Democrats don't talk about it as much, whether because they don't have the opportunity or because Republicans are screaming all the time about other things, like the Republicans are addressing it, but they're addressing it in fantastical ways as well, right? Like Trump is promising them the sky, but even if he did manage to reshore, quote unquote manufacturing, whatever that even means, it's not going to be the old jobs. It's going to be automated stuff, right? So
all right.
Right.
Final thoughts there, David.
Look, my personal theory of why we can't have real conversations is honestly foreign interference. Kind of what we saw in 2016, like the Steele, like a dossier, and we never really know how much interference there really was, but it appears it's getting worse and worse. So my personal pet theory is the foreign interference, leading to everyone living in different realities, the incentives from social media to push the stuff that makes people really angry. But also it seems like Steve Bannon and the conservative media apparatus were just so far ahead of the Democrats in terms of utilizing social media. Like, what's your personal reasoning why why everyone is not able to have a conversation about politics anymore.
I mean, I think that's a part of it. I think one of the issues is that like Republicans are always in election mode. Like in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, you have your primaries, and after you have a primary, and whoever wins, everybody should support that person after they've won. That should be what you do. The party comes together. I feel like elections, in a way, are also kind of like primaries. You know, once you have two people running for president, whoever wins at that point, the country kind of should come together and. Now we're the country. It's time to govern. I think that Republicans, especially kind of in Trump 1, especially now, have completely and utterly given up on governance. So you've got the Democrats who, I would say under Biden, engaged in a lot of governance, but they weren't rewarded for it, right? So I don't even know if there's an incentive to go down that road again. So when you've got one side that's trying to govern and the other side that's in permanent on-season election mode, right? Trump is supposed to be a lame duck president right now, but he's doing like more executive orders. He's done like three times many executive orders than Biden does his whole administration right now, right? So it's like, how do you have this world where Republicans are always in election mode and they're not trying to solve or fix anything? They're just trying to like look good for fucking YouTube clips. And then the Democrats are like, they're playing a different game. And I don't necessarily think the solution is to play the same game. We have to find a way to like cut the other shit out at least a little bit and bring us all back to some kind of reality. Yeah.
Right. Do you think like something like FDR did, like where I don't know, people see this as authoritarian, but when like people like Father Coughlin like were openly supporting the Nazis on the radio, like he like worked with the existing like media to make sure they don't sell him time on the air. Like, do you think like Biden should have like kind of tried to do something like, I think he tried to, but then like they brought up a Supreme Court case, I think Murphy versus Missouri or something stupid.
I don't know. The issue is just that the environment is so much more comprehensive now, and there are so many more players involved. It's not just like one guy who can do something, and like you said, the foreign aspect is a big one too. So.
All right, David. Thank you so much for joining us today, David. Good run. Thanks. Yep. We're going to Simon Park next. Simon Park. Come on up, Simon Park. Bring the heat. Energy.
All right, so I gotta be honest, I just.
Wait, get the, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, I gotta be honest, I bought the debate ticket because I don't want to sold out.
Okay.
But,
you bought wait, you said you bought the debate ticket off someone else?
Huh?
You bought the debate ticket off someone else?
No, I went to check the event. And
you bought the wrong ticket.
No. The audience ticket was sold out. I just bought the debate one.
Oh, okay.
It was not sold out.
Okay, all right, gotcha. Okay.
Okay. But, I don't know. But I do, like, I used to be conservative before, like 2016.
Talk right into the mic, yeah, go ahead.
Huh?
Talk right into the mic, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You said you were conservative before 2016, yeah?
Yeah, because up to that point, I think because I think like Trump for me was more like at the 2016 and before that, I feel like world was more like really politically correct, like when everything was really obsessed with it, right? So it was like would you say like at 2016 the media was like oppressively liberal around that time before that time?
People say peak woke was like 2013, 2014 or something.
Yeah.
That there was definitely that feeling. Yeah, sure.
And so like around 2016, I would say, oh fuck it, I'll just vote Trump because like I mean the other side is pretty like crazy liberal,
sure.
Right? So like for example like quotas and work quotas where companies will hire. Like
affirmative action stuff?
Yeah, basically. Like,
okay, I feel like conservatives have exaggerated some of these things, but yeah.
Yeah. But then it was really bad. Like back then, like Obama would have this like program where like whenever women would like every accusation of rape by women would be considered would be like taken seriously.
Sure, like the Me Too thing. I mean, like I don't think that Obama did that. Like he's just the
no,
president.
he did. It was like every rape accusation has to be taken seriously, even though like
that's not the worst thing in the world, right?
Yeah. But it isn't. But like, I mean, like maybe. But like, I mean, it actually resulted in people like getting like expelled from colleges because some woman accused them, and the colleges would just say, oh no, we're going to expel you, and then later you found that there was nothing and stuff like that, and
Yeah, like I mean, there were definitely issues with like the peak woke stuff or the Me Too stuff sometimes,
Yeah,
for
or
sure.
cancel
But like
culture,
these
all
were
that
in
stuff.
responses to like real problems as well, you know, right? I wouldn't say that like all of it was horrible because like every social movement tends to go a little bit too far sometimes.
Yeah, and
yeah.
then but it was really bad back then. Where like I would be scared to like go. What if someone?
I mean, when you say what, like,
know,
so
I-
for
I
instance,
was
when you
in
say like
college
it was
back then,
really
right?
bad,
So-
like there was definitely some bad stuff that happened with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like people were sold this idea that like if you were a man and you walked into a park, that like women would flag you down as a pedophile and try to kick you out or kill you. Like I feel like, or that if you went to college as a man, like there was a realistic chance of you having a national media story written about you trying to end your entire college career. For the most part, this is pretty exceptional stuff, right?
I mean, when I was in college, I'll be scared. I'll be scared if I like walk by some woman that was like, "Hey, you raped me" or some shit. I'll be like scared to. I was
Walking by
scared
a
about
gay
that.
guy is scary?
Oh no! I mean, if they were to accuse you of rape and it was like, okay, well, shit, I'm now.
Yeah, but like I mean,
getting
like how
fired or
does this
shit.
really happen that often?
I mean, you
When
hear
I say
stories
that
about
often, I
it.
mean, like,
heard
this is like an
stories
ex-
about it all the time back in 20.
Do what?
20 I heard stories about it back in like 2014, 2016, whatever.
Sure. I
yeah.
guess like the thing that's
Yeah.
interesting to me though is that like again, I can agree on the national level. Like there were definitely times where it went too far, right? And I'm sure that can trickle down to fear for other people as well.
Yeah.
Sure. But like when it comes to like all the people that
Mm-hmm.
like died of COVID, or the fact that like measles, I think we have another measles outbreak now in
Yeah.
North Carolina, or no, in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's like, but these are like swept under the bus or these are ignored. And like these can be things that impact tons of people, or the canceling of USAID and all these other things. I guess it's one thing that's interesting to me is I'm not going to say that we didn't have like a peak woke curve or whatever, but it's interesting to me that conservatives are able to take a few cases and paint them out as like this whole thing was completely fucked. But then on their side, there could be legitimately like thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people that are affected by a thing and they pretend like it's non-existent. Like I feel like there's no balance there.
We have
I
a
know,
little,
I know.
Simon, we have a little bit more time before we have to move on. But is there anything you like about Donald Trump?
I mean, yes. What I like about it was like before, like he would, like I said, I used to support him, like when I was just because like it was like a way to like, cause I like fuck political correctness, right? Like,
Sure.
And then and it was like outlet for that, and then I mean, recently I'm not, but I mean, yeah, that's like,
Okay.
like I said, I just bought a ticket because of the sold out,
Okay,
right?
well,
Yeah. And then,
Hey, listen, you got
yeah.
in, so.
Yeah.
Awesome, everyone. Simon Park. Give it up for him. Now, according to my calculation, we have one more debater left. Eric Melker, you're our last debater, I believe. Eric? Eric? No Eric? Did anyone else buy a debate ticket that did not get to speak? Okay, then we have one more. El Rito, let's go, buddy. All right, El Rito, bring the heat. I know you can. El Rito is a Pangburn Discord member. Bring the heat. I know you got it. And then we're going to be doing the poster signing right after. Right on the mic, buddy. Thanks.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
and
you
I've been
too.
listening to everything you've been saying so far. So I just wanted to ask you, right? I have a question. Like, in your opinion, what's the best thing Trump has done as president? And, please don't say, like, losing the previous election, right? Like,
Am I allowed to say Operation Warp Speed?
yeah. Oh, the best thing?
Am I allowed to say that? That would obviously be my answer, right?
Yeah, but if you can, like, justify it, right? Like, what do you think is the best thing? What is the best thing that Trump has done, in your opinion?
The Operation Warp Speed is that
Okay.
what I would say, yeah.
Okay. Just like that. Okay. Why?
I thought it represented a good union of public incentive for private interest in a way that combined a whole bunch of publicly funded research with like a globalized capitalist infrastructure that had like the coordination with a lot of different private companies to come together and like make a vaccine really fast, partially due to a guarantee from the government to buy. So it like represented like a whole bunch of things that, as a left-leaning institutional cuck, I like: globalism, capitalism, government incentives to do things, private corporations, healthcare research funding. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have here. So that's, I'm just kidding. And I was gonna say the Abraham Accords, right? For example, that's like maybe another thing. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
I would say they were really bad. That would be my
they're
opinion.
really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going very well. But it
They
seems
what?
they're not going very well. But it seems that there's some potential there, right?
No.
Maybe not objectively. Okay.
Not right now. I don't think that Trump has a comprehensive plan for the Middle East. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My issue with the Abraham Accords is I felt it was just another way to sidestep the Palestinian issue, and I feel like Israel likes to keep doing that over and over again, and it's clearly not working. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's. Okay. Perfect. Then, with COVID, like kind of the U.S. showed that it needed like more local production, right? And maybe Trump, the things that are doing, Trump is doing right now, they might not be like with the tariff stuff, but it's like maybe trying to bring it back to the U.S. to have more.
No, this is my issue is that like if Trump one of the worst things you can do when you try to tackle a problem is tackle a problem poorly, because then nobody even wants to look at the problem in the future. Mm-hmm. Like if we say that onshoring certain like manufacturing sectors or onshoring production of certain things is important, then we should like take a serious gander at the problem and then take a serious effort in doing something about that problem. And Trump is a deeply unserious person who is making an unserious effort to actually tackle this problem. Like the global terrorists are a nightmare. I don't even know if they're legal. I don't know if the Supreme Court can even uphold them. Yeah. And he's not doing anything on the backs of any of it. I keep hearing about this like great negotiator. What the fuck has he negotiated? He's negotiated nothing. Even his first 4 years as president, he didn't really negotiate anything. If you want to say that he negotiated something, the only thing you can point at is the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, in which case I would say, well, he blew that up in his next term, so I don't even really get credit for that. So, if you really wanted to bring back manufacturing, like you could argue that subsidies, like in the form of the CHIPS Act, that thing that Trump took advantage of to get a share in Intel on, you can argue that stuff like that, like protectionist or like localized subsidies for certain industries might be a good thing to do, or guiding your economic policy in some other way. But just like slapping a tariff on the whole world and going LOL, like let's manufacture more, I just think it's a joke.
Yeah, definitely Trump is bringing to the table what he knows, right? I mean, whatever he was doing make him, successful, quote unquote. I mean, he's doing it in the presidency,
well, the
right?
most success he's experienced is as an actor, so I think that is what he's brought to the table.
Yeah, pretty much. So he's not. Trump is like not the grass-fed, if you will, to become president, right? He seems like. But anyway, so just with the Venezuela thing, right? You said that it was a bad thing to blow up. The U.S. killed people, right? Like on the boat, right? But what do you think that's a bad thing? Because they were supposed to be, smugglers, right? They were supposed to be drug dealers, and there's like different stories about it. But I just wondering, what was your perspective on that? Like,
are they?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, some people say they were. Some people they say they were just harmless fishermen.
So how are we going to find that out?
Exactly. So that.
Why are you saying exactly? That's my point. That's why I don't think it's a good thing, right?
Because the thing is, you do have a big platform, right? I mean, this is going to go online. I just want to make the point that, sometimes if we don't know, right? We're getting like conflicting stories. It's just better. I mean, why are we going with one story? Is it because we prefer them better, or is it like?
Well, no. There's one story you go with, and it's that people were murdered in international waters with no due process. Doesn't really matter if they were guilty or not guilty. It doesn't matter what they were doing. The reality is the fact that we don't know is the problem, right? Yeah. Like if I were to inject you with something, you have no idea what it was, and you find out later, oh, it was like a healthy shot. This doesn't make any better. The fact that I injected you without telling you what it was is a huge issue, regardless of what was actually, in whatever injection. And it's the same thing with extrajudicial killings of people and then posting videos about it on Twitter and bragging about it. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
All right, El Rito. Final thoughts.
Yeah. Final thoughts. Okay. So, I think just with the Trump seems to be a person that he doesn't get like a no for an answer, right? Maybe that was something that was discussed in like a room somewhere. It's like, you can't do that, Mr. President, because that's international waters. And he's like not listening. He doesn't care. It's like, just go ahead and do it, right? So, at the end of the day, if it was the case that they were like bad guys, and they're operating in international waters, there's nothing we can do about it. They just, we just need to let them smuggle the drugs, if that was the case. Because again, we don't know. Like, what do we do, right? Because we have, with Venezuela, with other groups who are abusing, I will say, right? Their business is extorting groups like the U.S. or Europe or whatever, right? That's their business. That's what they do. They operate.
No, we have the largest navy in the world. We've got a whole Coast Guard. We've got states that can cooperate in different ways. We've got international pressure that we can apply via sanctions or UN stuff, or I mean, like, there's a million different potential pathways that we can take when it comes to pressuring other countries to do things. One of the interesting things that I find when I listen to, I'm not saying you're a conservative, but when conservatives talk about Trump, is they speak about America like it's a very weak country, right? Like when you have a person who is constantly striking out or attacking everybody around him, the perception, rightfully so, in any environment is that's like a weak, scared, frightened person, right? That's like what a cornered animal does. Right. The idea that the United States has nothing in its basket of tools, the largest, superpower, diplomatic power, economic power, all of this, and the only thing we can think to do is blow up skiffs in the ocean. Like there must be, like it's like this thing of like, I tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas. Like there's nothing, not really, seriously, like. Yeah. I don't know. That's pretty phenomenal to me.
All right, El Rito, thank you so much for coming up, man. Really appreciate it. And everyone, please give a big round of applause for our man, Destiny. Big round of applause. Keep it going. Rock and roll. Well, it's that time of the evening. We're going to do the poster signing. Stephen's going to meet us all at the merch table over there. Please form a line starting, right at the merch table along the back wall, and we'll build a long snake. Everyone be careful. Don't run. Please don't knock over the cameras. Careful. He's all good. He drank a little too much Coca-Cola. Let's make a line, and we're going to zip right through this. Everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry about the lighting on the live stream. We did book this venue last minute because we were kicked out of 2 venues, and it could have used a little supplemental lighting. But when we do release the video on our YouTube channel, we will be doing some trickery to brighten everything up. So you got to see the dark night version. Wait till you see the brighter version. Subscribe to Pangburn YouTube channel. Non-spons. Well, you guys are standing in line. I'm going to annoy you with my voice. Thank you guys so much. I know that sometimes it's a little boring to listen to the political questions